Oh, just bring me the Mickeys. The Mickeys. Okay, who can see us? Who can see me? Who can see my dreams? Well, this is working very well. You see me twice, good. Oh yeah, I'm on both of the things right now, aren't I? Because none of my video friends have joined me. So, the NBC stream is just like not working, I guess. NBC News. Night 2 live updates from... Can I just get the thing? I don't want to go to YouTube again. YouTube sucked last time. Maybe I'll... No. Maybe that's what's going to have to happen. Oh, here we go. Is this it?
Evens out to
there it is.
That all of her
Nice.
policies and her offset.
So I'm talking and they're
that's something
talking.
That
How
Bernie
are
hasn't
the?
been
Thank
able to
you.
articulate.
But just before we go,
How are the levels? Can you guys hear the thing? Can you hear me talking?
Because we heard this
When I shut up, can you hear them?
yesterday when Julian Castro
Hi,
was
Ollie.
talking about reproductive justice. When
This
it
is
comes to the
WolfJ.
topic of
That is not
abortion,
more.
which of
Ollie
course has
knows who I
been
am.
debated heavily of late. Is there a middle ground on this issue? Is there something that these candidates can say to perhaps get those swing state, middle of the road
And can you guys hear
voters?
my
The middle of the road.
speakers through my mic? Because I have headphones, but Jay does not.
Actually, I'm just saying that I thought she did a great job in setting herself apart by saying that the courts had adjudicated on it and that it was time for legislation to prevent states from going right up until
What do
the
you
courts
think,
are even
all-knowing
really
chat?
pushing that limit.
NBC
right?
sounds
so
good.
I
I
thought
said
that
nice.
Was,
That's
that
good
was
to hear.
smart, and it was putting something new forward. But where to get the middle of the ground? I mean, that's practical.
Oh, Allie,
actually,
before everybody
having
gets here.
something legal where there's less interpretation and
Feel
for
free to
states makes it
wield
more
your
practical,
modness
perhaps.
that I
Is there
gave
a
you
middle
yesterday.
ground, though, in
If
this?
people get a little
I
bit
don't
too
think there
rowdy.
is. I think you're either on the left of this or you're on the
By
right.
all
I don't
means.
think you're going to find even among voters folks who find
By all means, people getting like political and talking about shit is welcomed because that's what this is about. But if people get a little too out of control, it's okay to time out some people.
Yeah, no name calling.
Well, it's more like there were people last night who would just spam. They'd be like, no. It's like, stop, fuck. Hello, Taco Guy 88. Let me frickin' tweet about this shiz. Is there any personal information I'm going to accidentally reveal by doing this? Probably not. Oh, it's so quiet in my headphones. I need a frickin' headphone splitter. Oh, there are 2 outputs. I could technically get you headphones in this.
You even have a pair of headphones though?
Give me your headphones. Give me those headphones.
Ew.
They're Moore's headphones.
I
Yeah.
know, that's why I said ill.
Don't be bean.
They can't hear me.
Okay. You might only hear one side, but hold up! Don't put them on yet. Wow. Yeah,
Got high quality plastic.
yeah, dude. Whoop.
Hello.
Can you hear your own voice?
I can't hear anything.
You hear nothing? Check. Do you hear me?
Mm-mm.
Da 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 da. How about? Is that too loud?
Oh wait.
Is that a good volume?
No.
Oh, do you have your own headphone volume off?
That's what I was trying to find out.
Ta 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 ta. Oh, I can just turn on a thing with an audio source here in a sec. Here, listen to these ladies.
Number of women that we have in this election and on that debate
They're
stage.
just
How do you
bad.
think that might
They're just
change the
bad.
conversation around reproductive rights tonight?
I think it's opening
wait,
up,
no,
again,
those
a unique
speakers.
conversation
I
as
wasn't
to
hearing
the
anything.
rights that women might be able to have over their bodies versus how one identifies with their religious beliefs and how one might be able to come to a middle ground as it relates to that. It's also opening up another unique conversation as to the role that men play within this conversation. Even though this is a issue that directly affects women, we all know that women are
The
not
tiniest
only
screw
people
in the
that are
planet, of
voting
course,
on
it's
these
caught on it.
laws.
It has to be.
So it then also brings in the conversation as to the power that men are going to play
Now you
when
should be
it
able to
comes
fucking
to the
hear me when I talk,
conversation
right?
of women's reproductive rights,
hear
and that's
you.
going to be
I hear
interesting to see in the
you
future.
through
One
the
thing I'd also love to talk
headphones.
about,
Yeah,
and
that's what I mean.
don't think we've talked about it
Oh no,
enough.
I actually hear you in them now.
We've
Uh-huh,
discussed
so I mean-
sort of the
It's like you're on a radio show.
appeal of
No, before I heard you
Buttigieg
through
with
it, like
being
this
young and
penetrated.
innovative and the sort of
Can you hear your
blow
own
it all
voice?
up, let's think of something new
Testing?
approach. What
Kinda.
about
I don't know, everything's weird.
bipartisanship? Do you want to hear any
We haven't
sort
done
of
this in
appeal
headsets
to
before, have we?
that tonight? Do you want to hear candidates talk about
The only reason
the
you need that
rhetoric and the divisiveness
so I can
and
keep the air
maybe
conditioning
try
on.
to reach across
Oh.
the aisle a little bit, or is
Because
that
without
not
the
the
air
time for it
conditioning,
right now?
oh boy.
I mean, I think it absolutely is the time. I mean,
Gone mad with power.
West
Allie's,
Virginia, where I come
Allie's
from,
become
used to
like
be
the crazy mod.
Mad cow?
Mad cow. She's gone mad cow with power. Mad with cower. Wait, what?
Cower?
I did not even tweet the thing I tweeted. Okay. Here we go. Profile. What's my last tweet that isn't Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez?
I don't know how I feel about her.
Get a drink. Going now. I like her a lot. I'm way into AOC. I think she's a really good messenger. I think she's good at distilling messages down into tweets. I think she goes after things that are like winnable and doable. She's very common sense and no nonsense. She doesn't seem like she's trying to swindle me at all times. Like when she talks, I believe that she believes what she's saying.
I think that's a good one from Az.
Oh, way too many of them. They all talk over each other. Pretty much they all say words without meaning anything. Yes, except for like Warren and weirdly de Blasio. I did not hate de Blasio.
Well, I mean for the drinking rule. Since no one can see this just say Bernie, every time I say Bernie Sanders, you take a drink said Bernie.
So what's the what should our starting drink word be, guys? I was thinking last night. I put up socialism. I thought somebody was. They didn't say socialism a single goddamn time. None of our rules worked. We have to think outside the box here. The obvious ones don't seem to work, so we have to get like unobvious. Concentration camps got none. They didn't say concentration camp once.
Why would that even come up?
Because what's happening in on the Mexican border right now? We have concentration camps, and we're putting Mexican children in them. That's happened like today. There's been stuff's happened on that like as we speak. Well, it's a little bit late. I think they went home, but still.
See, it's gonna be like
disenfranchised. Do you think Mueller? Drink word Mueller. I'll start with. Do you think they're even gonna say Mueller?
Trump's not a part of this. Like, I don't keep up with politics at all. Somebody be like, what? Huh?
Jobs. You know what, Shiny, I'm going to give you jobs up here. I think they're going to say jobs a lot, but none of your words worked yesterday, and I was so sad. We'll start with Mueller, jobs, and socialism. Hopefully fucking one of these works.
Oh, that smells good.
I'm getting sick and tired of this orgasm. What does that mean, Caustic? Is that even I smell that from over here. Tell people what you got.
So we were looking for drinks, and I saw the pink Natty Light can. I'm like, is that strawberry lemonade? I look at it. It's strawberry lemonade. I was super excited.
At first, we're like, is that even beer? Does Natty just make a band of lemonade?
It is good.
Drink when they say federal judges. All right, those are my three. Those are the three freebies. It's gonna be a lot like yesterday, where if you guys notice a word that's showing up a lot and you want to add it to the thing, depending on just how frequently it's used, I'll put the word "the" up there if you're willing to give me like $100. But you know, less common words, I'll add it to the list for relatively cheap, like 100 bits or so. But complicated, like words that are gonna show up every 5 seconds, they're gonna cost a bit more. I'm stealing this format from a drinking game con panel that we do called Mistake, where we watch a crappy movie and that happens. There's one person around the front going around negotiating, getting money, being like, okay, how much do you federal judges? Yeah, sure. I'll do federal judges for 100 bits. That seems very reasonable. And you can add them at any time, by the way, not just beforehand. If you're watching and you're like, wow, this candidate has said that same phrase for like 2-3 times now, I think it's going to be a hot word. Feel free to throw it out. Yeah, thank you, JT. Yeah, I think that one's going to show up eventually. When they say Green New Deal or global warming, well, they're going to say climate change before global warming anyway. But like, we could add climate change. They're almost definitely going to say climate change. Green New Deal, maybe. I hope somebody talks about the Green New Deal. I don't know. If you want that to happen, throw up bits, and I will add to the fucking list.
Kind of hoping.
Yeah, don't worry. We're going to turn on the volume here. They're in the pre-show at the moment. The debate doesn't start for another 4 minutes.
Everyone stands to, I think, be attacking Biden. He is the front runner here.
Everyone should be attacking Biden, but on the correct things. Please attack him on his record.
Vice President Biden, I would write a speech, and I would go over his record and his history, and I would address every single thing that's problematic to date. I've made mistakes. I'm a different person. Things were different then, but this is who I am today. I recognize how the party has changed, and I am willing to meet
Did someone
the
say
party
that
and
yesterday?
its voters where they are. To
No,
get
I don't
it
think
out
so.
Of the way, get it
Did-
away from him so that he can move on.
I don't know what this
Speaking
means,
of
but I'm
those
doing
voting
it.
records, though, one person we have not talked about is Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Yang.
What do you think?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we saw when
Andrew Yang
she
is actually
grilled
on stage
Kavanaugh,
today.
when she grilled A.G. Barr. How is she going to handle being in the...
We kept calling, is it Julio Castro? I don't remember. His first name starts with a J. Castro. We kept we kept calling him Andrew Yang because someone in chat's like, oh, it's Andrew Yang, blah, blah. I'm like, no, that's not Andrew Yang. That's Andrew Yang. There
I
he
can
is.
appreciate what they did here, because for me as a casual, I'd say they put the only two people I know right in the middle.
Yeah, they're the headliners. Everybody else is. The farther out you get, the more you know no one cares
Bernie
about
Sanders
you.
versus Biden.
They probably genuinely did it by polling numbers. They probably went like, but first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and like ninth, 10th. Add basic income? Well, Straight Tail, how many bits are you willing to put for basic income? You know he's going to say that. That's like a guaranteed drink right there. Is Beanie Sanders related to Colonel Sanders? You know, he probably is. Because both of them love delicious fried chicken.
I would assume Bernie's probably a vegan.
There's he's too old. He might be kosher. That's about it. That's about it.
But kosher could be anything as long as it's blessed.
Well, that's not true. There's specific things you're not supposed to do under kosher, such as mixing dairy and meat, which is very sad for
You
all
can't have a
cheeseburger
cheeseburger?
fans. Technically,
My religion's offended by that.
I know.
The religion of
It's
cheeseburger.
because there was a very there was a common sacrifice that would be made back in Old Testament days, which would be like taking a calf or a goat or whatever and like boiling it in milk or something, and that was a very popular non-Jewish God-based sacrifice,
Oh, here
and they
we
wanted
go.
to stop that, so they stuck it right in the Ten Commandments. Well, right in kosher, I guess.
Thanks for the... It doesn't
Had
show who
basic
followed.
income. Oh, basic income is going to kill us. Basic income or, any variation thereof. If it's close enough, we'll do it. Like, if they say communism, I'm still drinking. Oh, stop glad at Biden. Shut the fuck up. Hey, Biden, why don't you start touching Bernie's shoulders?
Just
Sue, yay!
subscribe.
Thank you very, very much, Sue. Yes, this is Pepper Coyote from Twitter. that is me. I am Pepper Coyote, known from such things as Twitter. Are they in a church, or are they just like church bench seating? Yeah, I don't know where they are. I could find out if I unmuted it and was paying more attention.
Phrasing, Pepper.
What?
The questionnaire. How will basic income kill
How
us?
will basic income kill us?
You said basic income is going to kill us.
How will it? I don't know. It probably won't. But did I say that?
Yes.
What the fuck?
Because it's on the drinking thing.
Oh, right. Yeah, basic income will kill us through the amount of drinks I have to do when they say the word basic income. Ugh. I mean, I like the idea of universal basic income, maybe. I think it's definitely not a step backwards. I think the universal part needs to get looked at, because if you make too much money, you should not be getting the UBI. It should be for if you're broke, or if you make like 50K or less a year, or even 100,000 or less a year. I don't think it should be just absolutely everybody, but I think Andrew Yang has very little in terms of policy ideas beyond that. I like that he's pushing that. I hope his candidacy gets somebody to like pick that up if it becomes super popular. But I don't trust more business people with no political experience just jumping in and being like, I could be the president. Like, how about we have Andrew Yang, the state rep first, or Andrew Yang, the, I don't know, mayor or governor or something. He's just going right for president, and that feels weird. If it's just to push the idea of UBI, he just wants to burn some of his money getting that out there, okay, fine. That works out. JT says that Andrew Yang is going to be yelling the entire debate while people are asking him how he got on both debate nights. The joke is that we thought for a sec they didn't have the names up, and for a sec we just saw a guy. We saw Castro last night, and someone in the chat assumed that was Andrew Yang. Because like, it must be Andrew Yang, right? He's the only non-white person. It's like, no. Well, that isn't Cory Booker. Pete Buttigieg. All right, I think we're getting going. Oh, I forgot she's here too. Fucking Gillibrand.
Former Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper.
Hickenlooper.
Senator Bernie Sanders.
Bernard
California
Sanders.
Congressman Eric Swalwell.
I look like a very young
author
picture,
Marianne
Bernie.
Williamson. And former tech executive Andrew Yang. From NBC News.
Former
Decision
tech
2020,
executive. That's what he
Democratic
was.
Candidates debate. Live from the Adrian Arst
Let's get our
Performing
friends in
Arts
here.
Center in Miami, Florida.
However many of them are ready. We're in Florida, baby. Let's do it. Today I will not be drinking vodka. I will be drinking Mickey's. If you guys had that down in your pool, congratulations, you win.
Tonight in the Arts Center and across America tonight, we continue this spirited debate about the future of the country.
I'm gonna
how
pee before this
tackle
gets
our
going.
most pressing problems and getting to
Eat
the heart
Biden's
of the biggest issues in this Democratic primary.
Tonight, we're going to talk about healthcare, immigration. We're also going to dive into the economy, jobs, climate change as well.
And some quick rules of the road before we begin, and they may sound familiar. 20 candidates qualified for this first debate. As we said, we heard from 10 last night, and we'll hear from 10 more tonight. The breakdown for each night was selected at random. The candidates will have 60 seconds to answer, 30 seconds for any follow-ups.
And because of the large field of candidates, not every person is going to be able to weigh in on every topic. But over the course of the next 2 hours, we will hear from everyone.
And we love our audience, but we'd like to ask them to keep their reactions to a minimum, and we're not going to hold back in making sure the candidates stick to time. So with that business taken care of, let's get to it. And we're going to start today with Senator Sanders. Good evening to you. You've called for big new government benefits like universal health care and free college. In a recent interview, you said you suspected that Americans would be, quote, delighted to pay more taxes for things like that. My question to you is, will taxes go up for the middle class in the Sanders administration? And if so, how do you sell that to voters?
Well, you're quite right. We have a new vision for America. And at a time when we have 3 people in this country owning more wealth than the bottom half of America, while 500,000 people are sleeping out on the streets today, we think it is time for change, real change. And by that I mean that health care, in my view, is a human right.
Human.
And we've got to pass a Medicare for all single-payer system.
How about we drink if Bernie acknowledges the letter H?
By the way, vast majority of the people in this country will be paying significantly less for health care than they are right now. I believe that education is the future for this country. And that is why I believe that we must make public colleges and universities tuition-free and eliminate student debt. And we do that by placing a tax on Wall Street.
Wall Street was one yesterday.
The proposal that I have brought forth
I'll drink for yesterday.
Paid for.
Senator Sanders, I'll give you 10 seconds just to answer the very direct question. Will you raise taxes for the middle class in a Sanders administration?
No.
People who have health care under Medicare for all will have no premiums, no deductibles, no co-payments, no out-of-pocket expenses. Yes, they will pay more in taxes, but less in health care for what they get.
Thank you, Senator.
Hey, full answer, correct.
Senator Bennett, we're going to get to everybody, I promise, but let me just, Senator Biden, promise everybody's going to get in here, promise. Vice President Biden. Senator Sanders, as you know, has been calling for a revolution. Recently, in remarks to a group of wealthy donors, as you were speaking about the problem of income inequality in this country, you said, we shouldn't, quote, demonize the rich. You said, nobody has to be punished. No one's standard of living would change. Nothing would fundamentally change. What did you mean by that?
What I meant by that is, look, Donald Trump thinks Wall Street built America.
I want to drink every time Biden says Donald Trump.
My dad used to have an expression. He said, Joe, a job is about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about respect. It's being able to look your kid in the eye and say everything's going to be okay. Too many people who are in the middle class and poor have at the bottom fall out under this proposal. What I'm saying is that we've got to be straightforward. We have to make sure we understand that to return dignity to the middle class, they have to have insurance that is covered and they can afford it. They have to make sure that we're in a situation where there's continuing education.
My insurance has to be covered and I have to be able to afford it?
They're able to breathe air that is clean and they have water that they can drink. Look, Donald Trump has put us in a horrible situation. We do have
Donald Trump,
enormous
too.
income inequality. And the one thing I agree on is we can make massive cuts in the $1.6 trillion in tax loopholes out there, and I would be going about eliminating Donald Trump's tax cuts for the wealthy.
Vice President Biden, thank you.
I found
Senator
one. I
Harris.
found a good one, didn't I? Because he's not even campaigning against them. He's campaigning against Trump already because he assumes he's going to
New
win.
government benefits such as student loan
That's a power move.
cancellation, free college,
Power
health care, and more. Do you think that Democrats have a responsibility to explain how they will pay for every proposal they make along those lines?
Well, let me tell you something. I hear that question, but where was that question when the Republicans and Donald Trump passed a tax bill that benefits the top 1% and the biggest
good point.
corporations in this country?
Drink for good points.
At least a $1 trillion to the debt of America, which middle-class families will pay for one way or another. Working families need support and need to be lifted up, and frankly, this economy is not working for working people. For too long, the rules have been written in the favor of the people who have the most and not in favor of the people who work the most, which is why I am proposing that we change the tax code. So for every family that is making less than $100,000 a year, they will receive a tax credit that they can collect up to $500 a month, which will make all the difference between those families being able to get through the end of the month with dignity and with support or not. And on day one, I will repeal that tax bill that benefits the top 1% and the biggest corporations of America.
I can't remember. Are tax credits the one you get even if you don't pay any
Let me
taxes?
get you in on this. You've
Right?
warned that Democrats will lose in 2020.
Not a tax break,
if they
tax
embrace
credit.
socialism, as you put it.
Socialism,
you were
drink.
booed at the California Democratic Convention when you said that. Only one
I'll
candidate
boo
on
him
this
here.
stage, Senator Sanders, identifies himself as a Democratic socialist.
Socialist?
What are the policies or positions of your opponents that you think are veering towards socialism?
All the good
I
ones.
think that the bottom line is if we don't clearly define that we are not socialists, the Republicans are going to come at us every way they can and call us socialists. And if you look at the Green New
They're gonna
Deal,
do that either way,
I
dude.
admire the sense of urgency and how important it is to do climate change. I'm a scientist, but we can't promise every American a government job. If you want to get universal health care coverage, I believe that health care is a right and not a privilege. But you can't expect to eliminate private insurance for 180 million people.
Thanks
many
for
of
joining,
whom
Thanak.
don't want to give it up. In Colorado, we brought businesses and nonprofits together. We got the near universal health care coverage. We were the first state in America to bring the environmental community and the oil and gas industry to aggressively address methane emissions. And we were also the first place to expand reproductive rights on a scale basis. And we reduced
The camera guy's
teen
pretty bored, I
pregnancy
guess.
by 54%. We've done the big progressive things that people said couldn't be done. I've done what pretty much everyone else up here is still talking about doing.
Governor, thank you. Senator Sanders, I'll give you a chance to...
I agree, Big Boss. If you're taking corporate money, you're not going to stand up for
Response to those who
corporations.
say nominating a socialist would re-elect Donald Trump.
Socialist.
Well, I think the responses at the polls, last poll I saw had us 10 points ahead of Donald Trump because the American people understand that Trump is a phony, that Trump is a pathological liar and a racist, and that he lied to the American people during his campaign. He said he was going to stand up for working families. Well, President Trump, you're not standing up for working families when you try to throw 32 million people off the health care that they have, and that 83% of your tax benefits go to the top 1%. That's how we beat Trump. We expose him for the fraud that he is.
I disagree with both their perspectives. The debate we're having in our party right now is confusing because the truth is there's a big difference between capitalism on the one hand and greed on the other. And so
I would
all
say
the
those are
things
the
that we're trying
same
to
side.
change is when companies care more about profits when they do about people. So if you're talking about ending
Biden's
gun
turning
violence,
yellow because
it's
the current president is
greed of the
orange. He's trying to fit in.
NRA and the gun manufacturers that make any progress impossible. It's the greed of the insurance companies and the drug companies when we want to try to get health care as a right and not a privilege. So there need not be disagreement in the party because in truth, we want healthy capitalism.
Thank you.
We don't want corrupted capitalism.
Thank you. I want to
which
be
is
fair
the
to all the
definition
candidates.
of greed.
Thank you. Senator Bennett.
I see it very difficult to have capitalism without greed. It's almost as if that's not how capitalism works.
You might as well call them candy. Were you referring to any candidate or proposal in particular when you said that?
Was that directed to me?
Yes, that was your quote.
That sounded like me. Thank you.
It was you.
I appreciate it. Well, look,
golly
first of all,
gee
I
shucks.
agree completely with Bernie about what the fundamental challenge we're facing as a country is. 40 years of no economic growth for 90% of the American people. 160,000 families in the top 0.1% have the same wealth as the bottom 90%.
Wow,
And
what was the
we've got
question?
the worst income inequality that we've had in 100 years. Where I disagree is on his solution on Medicare for all.
Fuck
I
you.
have proposed getting to universal health care, which we need to do. It is a right. Health care is a right. We need to get to universal health care. I believe the way to do that is
by doing it.
Finishing the work we started with Obamacare and creating a public option that every family and every person in America can make a choice for their family about whether they want a public option, which for them would be like having Medicare for all, or whether they want to keep their private insurance. I believe we will get there much more quickly if we do that.
But wait,
Bernie, if I could just finish, Bernie mentioned that the taxes that we would have to pay, because of those taxes, Vermont rejected Medicare for all.
Senator,
Thank
you for the follow. We are going to talk about
Got the Bernie
healthcare
cam
at
on the
length,
left.
Senator, but
Yeah,
for the
Mike,
moment,
I guess
my
Bernie's
colleague
their
said
favorite.
let's continue the question
I wrote the part in Senator Sanders' bill. I wrote the part in Senator Sanders' bill that is the transition, which merges what the two senators said.
Senator.
Because the truth is, if you have a
I'm gonna try and do something really
over a
stupid.
4 or 5 year
Senator,
period, you move us to single payer more quickly.
Senator, we will get to this. We will get to this. Before we do, I want to.
We will. Oh, what the fuck? No! What's happening? Discord, you bitch.
Air 404.
I hate Discord so much. Discord.
I hate Telegram right now.
Personal for us. Chasten and I have your student debt. I believe in reducing student
Draggor,
debt.
you always
It's
hate
logical to me
Telegram.
that if you can refinance
Because it's
your
always
house,
been
you
a
ought to be
piece
able
of
to
shit.
refinance your student debt. I also believe in free college for low
am nothing
and
if not
middle income
consistent.
students for whom cost could be a barrier. I just don't believe it makes sense to ask working class families to subsidize even the children of billionaires.
Platform used by what? Al Qaeda and
Pay at
furries.
least a
How
little
good
bit of
can it
tuition. And
be?
while I want tuition costs to go down, I don't think we can buy down every last penny for them. Now, there's something else that doesn't get talked about.
Could Buttigieg.
in the college affordability debate. Yes, it needs to be more affordable in this country to go to college.
Yeah, we
It
hear you,
also
Draggor.
needs to be more affordable in this
no,
country
it's
to
a
not go to
political
college.
thing on.
You
Oh,
should
yeah,
be
we're
able
going.
to
We're 15
live
minutes in.
well, afford rent, be generous to
Is
your
my
church.
computer
Whether
live?
you went to college or not, that's one of many reasons we need to raise the minimum wage to at least $15 an hour.
Jose, I've got $100,000 in student loan debt
Yes,
myself.
Sander.
And
Let me
I'll
get
tell
to you.
Hi, everybody.
Count on the people
Sorry.
who've been in government for the last 30 years, who were around when this problem was created, to be the ones to solve it. It's going to be the next generation, the 40 million of us who can't start a family, can't take a good idea and start a business, and can't buy our first home. This is the generation that's going to be able to solve student loan debt. This generation is ready to lead.
That's the link in the chat in case you can't hear us or want to hear them without us blabbing over it.
Every adult in the United States
Can you pin it?
$1,000 a month, no questions asked.
That's right.
I think that's like $3.2 trillion
BRB.
a year. How would you do that?
Sorry?
Bye,
How
Flop.
would you
Thanks
do
for hanging out.
Oh, so it's difficult to do if you have
I did a
companies
bad
like
thing.
Amazon,
I did a
trillion-dollar
bad
tech
thing.
companies paying literally zero in taxes.
Here
while
comes
they
Yang.
own 30% of our
100
stores.
messages
Now,
to a gift
we need to put the
conversion
American
bot,
people in a
and it is
position to
lighting
benefit
up my
from all these
notices.
innovations in other parts of the economy. And if we had a value-added tax at even half the European level, it would generate over $800 billion in new revenue, which combined with the money in our hands, it would be the trickle-up economy from our people, families, and communities up. We would spend the money and it would circulate through our regional economies and neighborhoods, creating millions of jobs, making our families stronger and healthier. We'd save money on things like incarceration, homelessness services, emergency room health care, and just the value gains from having a stronger, healthier, mentally healthier population would increase GDP by $700 billion. This is the move that we have to make, particularly as technology is now automating away millions of American jobs. It's why Donald Trump is our president today, that we automated away 4 million manufacturing jobs in Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. And we're about to do the same thing to millions of retail jobs, call center jobs, fast food jobs, truck driving jobs, and on through the economy.
Mr. Ryan, if I get you understand a little bit better, so you're saying $1,000
Hey,
a month
somebody
for
just
everyone over 18, but a value-added tax. So you can spend $1,000 on value-added tax?
Well, the value-added tax would end up, you'd still be increasing the buying power of the bottom 94% of Americans. You have to spend a lot of money for a mild value-added tax to eat up $12,000 a year per individual. So for the average family with 2 or 3 adults, it'd be $24,000 to $36,000 a year.
Okay, Congressman Swalwell, I want to talk a little bit about
Hey, that's
what
almost.
Yang is talking about, and you just
I almost
mentioned
make that
many
much
Americans
annually.
worried that things
He
like
actually brought up
self-driving
mental health,
cars,
too, for a little
robots,
bit. No one else has.
Drones, artificial intelligence will cost them their jobs. What would you do to help people get the skills they need to adapt to this new world?
We must always be a country
Forgot to drink for basic income.
technology creates more jobs than it displaces.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
And I've seen the anxiety
Oh, we
across
hear you,
America where the manufacturing floors go from 1,000 to 100 to 1. So we have to modernize our schools, value the teachers who prepare our kids, wipe the student debt from any teacher that goes into a community that needs it, invest in America's communities,
Still got mine.
especially where places where the best exports are people who move away to get skills. But Jose, I was 6 years old when a presidential candidate came to the California Democratic Convention and said, it's time to pass the torch to a new generation of Americans. That candidate was then Senator Joe Biden. Joe Biden was right when he said it was time to pass the torch to a new generation of Americans 32 years ago. He's still right today.
Fuck off, Joe. Pass that baton.
Pass the torch. If we're going to solve the issues of climate chaos, pass the torch. If we're going to solve the issue of student loan
drinking
debt,
for this.
pass the torch. If we're going to end gun
I'm gonna
violence
go get a drink
for
for
families
this.
who are fearful of sending their kids to school, pass the torch.
Vice President, would you
Get the
like to
fuck
sing a
out of
torch
here,
song?
Biden. He's not the vice president anymore.
Torch. I want to make it clear to you, look, the fact of the matter is what we have to do is make sure that everybody is prepared better to go on to educate for an education. The fact is that's why I propose us focusing on schools that are in distress. That's why I think we should triple the amount of money we spend for Title I schools. That's why I think we should have universal pre-K. That's why I think every single person who graduates from high school, 65 out of 100 now, need something beyond high school. And we should provide for them to be able to get that education. That's why there should be free community college, cutting in half the cost of college. That's why we should be
Joe
in a
is officially
position
at Bernie
where we do
2016
not have
level.
anyone have to pay back a student debt when they get out. They're making less than $25,000 a year. Their debt is frozen, no interest payment until they get beyond that. We can't put people in a position where
so
they
they
aren't
still have
able
to
to
pay,
go on
right.
and move on. And so, folks, there's a lot we can do, but we have to make continuing education available for everyone so that everyone can compete in the 21st century. We're not doing that now.
Senator Sanders.
As the youngest guy on the stage, I feel like I probably ought to contribute to the generational conversation.
Oh, drink, baby. We're all talking.
Part of Joe's generation, let me respond.
Before we move
The
on
issue,
from,
if I may say, is not generational.
Let's please.
The
Senator
issue
Sanders,
is
and I'll
not
let you.
generational.
We
The
will.
issue is who has the guts to take on Wall Street, to take on the fossil fuel industry, to take on the big money interests who have unbelievable influence over the economic and political life of this country.
These issues
That
haven't
is
gotten
the
better
issue.
over
Senator Harris.
No idea
Senator
what
Harris,
anyone
I'm so
said.
sorry. We will let all of you speak. Senator Harris.
Drink again.
Please, we will let you all speak.
I'll talk over him. I'll talk too.
For evolution on these issues.
What you all
guys,
drinking?
You know what? America
I have a
does
Mickey's.
not want to witness a food fight. They
I
want
have
to know how we're going to put food
Natty
on
Light.
their table.
Strawberry lemonade.
She was so ready with that line. She had that written on her hand.
On that point, part of the issue that is at play in America today, and we've all been traveling around the country, I certainly have, I'm meeting people who are working 2 and 3 jobs. You know, this president walks around talking about and flouting his great economy, right? My great economy, my great economy. You ask him, well, how are you measuring this greatness of this economy of yours? And he talks about the stock market. Well, that's fine if you own stocks. So many families in America do not. You ask them, how are you measuring the greatness of this economy of yours? And they point to the jobless numbers and the unemployment numbers. Well, yeah, people in America are working. They're working 2 and 3 jobs. So when we talk about jobs, let's be really clear. In our America, no one should have to work more than 1 job to have a roof over their head and food on the table.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Camilla. Now, what policies will make that happen, though?
We've all expressed an interest in talking talking about healthcare. Let's talk about healthcare, and this is going to be a show of hands question. We asked a question about healthcare last night that spurred a lot of discussion, as you know.
They said jobs 3 times. Thank you, Jimbo, for reminding me.
Many people watching at home have health insurance of their employer.
For every time they say
would abolish their private health insurance.
Yeah, dude. Yesterday we barely drank at all.
Government-run plan.
I guess I'll be right back.
All right.
Okay.
Christian Gillibrand, Senator Gillibrand.
Yeah, so now it's my turn.
Good.
So
Camera's full.
this is a very important issue. So the plan that Senator Sanders and I and others support, Medicare for All, is how you get to single payer. But it has a buy-in transition period, which is really important. In 2005, when I ran for Congress in a 2-to-1 Republican district, I actually ran on Medicare for All, and I won that 2-to-1 Republican district twice. And the way I formulated it was simple. Anyone who doesn't have access to insurance they like, they could buy in at a percentage of income they could afford. So that's what we put into the transition period for our Medicare for All plan. I believe we need to get to universal health care as a right and not a privilege to single payer. The quickest way you get there is you create competition with the insurers. God bless the insurers if they want to compete, they can certainly try. But they've never put people over their profits, and I doubt they ever will. So what will happen is people will choose Medicare, you will transition, we will get to Medicare for All, and then your step to single payer is so short. I would make it an earned benefit, just like Social Security, so that you buy in your whole life. It is always there for you, and it's permanent, and it's universal.
Senator, your time is up.
Sounds like Europe.
Put that same question to Mayor Buttigieg.
Yeah, we've taught, look, everybody who says Medicare for All, every
Look, I don't think Bernie's blonde. I think he just has white hair.
Phrase to escape their lips has a responsibility to explain how you're actually supposed to get from here to there.
Oh, it's Pete.
Here's how I would do it.
Pete.
It's very similar. I would call
Pete
it
is gonna
Medicare
say a lot
for
of
all who
words.
want it. You
Yeah.
take something like
But he
Medicare,
can't,
a
though.
flavor of that, you
There's
make
no
it
time to
available
talk
on the
at this one.
exchanges. People can buy in, and then if people like us are right, that will be not only a more inclusive plan, but a more efficient plan than any of the corporate answers out there, then it will be a very natural glide path to the single-payer environment. But let's remember, even in countries that have outright socialized medicine, like England,
Socialized
even though
counting.
there's still a private sector, that's fine.
That's
It's
the
just
same
that for
word.
our primary care, we can't be relying on the tender mercies of the corporate system. This one's very personal for me. I started out this year dealing with the terminal illness of my father. I make decisions for a living. And nothing could have prepared me for the kind of decisions our family faced. But the thing we had going for us was that we never had to make those decisions based on whether it was going to bankrupt our family because of Medicare. And I want every family to have that same freedom to do what is medically right, not live in financial fear.
Your time is complete. Vice President Biden, I want to put the question to you. You were one of the architects of Obamacare. So where do we go from here?
Look, this is very personal to me. When
Your son had
my
cancer.
wife and daughter were killed in an automobile accident, my two boys were
very sad.
really very badly injured. I couldn't imagine what it'd be like had I not had adequate health care available immediately. And then when my
Medicare
son
for
came
all.
home from Iraq after a year, he was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he was given months to live. I can't fathom what would have happened if, in fact, they said, by the way, the last 6 months of your life, you're on your own. We're cutting off. You've used up your time. The fact of the matter is that the quickest, fastest way to do it is build on Obamacare, to build on what we did. And
by doing what, Jim?
Secondly, to make sure that everyone does.
That's your whole thing. I'm going to build on
everyone,
Obama.
whether they
Damage
have private
control,
insurance,
Joe.
employer insurance, or no insurance. They, in fact, could buy in the exchange to a Medicare-like plan. And the way to do that, we can do it quickly. Look, urgency matters. There's people right now facing what
Joe
I
should
faced
have a little
and what
Obama
we
beanie
faced
baby
without
on his
any of the help
shoulder,
I
just to
had.
remind
We
people.
must move now. I'm against any Democrat who opposes,
President Biden,
that
your
takes
time
down
is-
Obamacare, and then a Republican who wants to get rid of Obamacare.
Let me turn to Senator Sanders.
Yeah, but what if we replace Obamacare with everyone having health
The
insurance?
private health insurance system as we know
That
it and
would
replace
make
it with a
his,
government-run plan.
health
None of the
insurance
states
donors very
that have
unhappy.
tried something like that, California, Vermont, New York has struggled with it, have been successful. If politicians can't make it work in those states, how would you implement it on a national level? How does this work?
Listen, I find it hard
It's
to
that
believe
kind of debate, huh?
that every other major country on earth, including my neighbor 50 miles north of me, Canada, somehow has figured out a way to provide health care to every man, woman, and child, and in most cases, they're spending 50% per capita what we are spending. Let's be clear. Let us be very clear.
Bernie's
The
jazzed up.
function of health care today from the insurance and drug company perspective is not to provide quality care to all in a cost-effective way. The function of the healthcare system today is to make billions in profits for the insurance companies. And last year, if you could believe it, while we pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, and I will lower prescription drug prices in half in this country, top 10 companies made $69 billion in profit. They will spend hundreds of millions of dollars lying to the American people, telling us why we cannot have a Medicare for all single-payer program.
I just have to follow up there. How do you implement it on a national level? How do you implement it on a national level, given the fact it's not succeeded and other states have tried?
I will tell you how we'll do it. We'll do it the way real change has always taken place, whether it was the labor movement, the civil rights movement, or the women's movement. We will have Medicare for all when tens of millions of people are prepared to stand up and tell the insurance companies and the drug companies that their day is gone, that health care is a human right, not something to make huge profits off of.
All right, Ms. Williamson.
I swear to God, Bernie's one eye just keeps getting bigger while the other keeps getting smaller.
Excuse me, I'm addressing the question, Ms. Williamson. We've been talking a lot about access to health
That's not
insurance,
even his final
but for many
form.
Americans, the most pressing concern
He's
is
transforming.
the high cost of health care. How would you lower the cost of prescription
He means
drugs?
by standing up and like voting for people, I guess.
Should never have made the deal with the big pharma that they couldn't negotiate. That was just part of the regular corruption by
Who
which
is this?
multinational corporations have their way with us. You know, I want to say that while I agree with, I'm with Senator Bennett and others, but I agree with almost everything here. I'll tell you one thing. It's really nice that we've got all these plans, but if you think we're going to beat Donald Trump by just having all these plans, you got another thing coming. Because he didn't win by saying he had a plan. He won by simply saying, make America great again. We've got to get deeper than just these superficial fixes, as important as they are. Even if we're just talking about the superficial fixes, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have a health care system in the United States. We have a sickness care system in the United States. We just wait till somebody gets sick, and then we talk about who's going to pay for the treatment and how they're going to be treated. What we need to talk about is why so many Americans have unnecessary chronic illnesses, so many more compared to other countries.
Because they can't afford to go to the doctor early on.
Not just the big pharma, not just health insurance companies.
I think she's trying to aim at capitalism, honestly.
It has to do with environmental policy.
She knows how to
It has
talk,
to do with food
but she's an author, so.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Bennett, a question for you. You want to keep the system that we have in place?
I want to hear her keep going with that idea. Where did that go?
Is that enough to get us to universal coverage?
I think it was dismantle capitalism.
Yeah, I mean, if that's her message, yes.
The Vice President was very moving about this, and Mayor Pete as well. I had prostate cancer recently, as you may know, and
He's
while
my
I was
least
a little
favorite
late
so
getting
far.
in the race, the same week my kid had her
It's prostate cancer.
and I feel very strongly
He
that
just
families
needs-
ought to be able
I'm
to
not
have
gonna-
this choice. I think that's what the American people want. I believe it will get us there quickly. There are millions of people in America that do not have health insurance today because they can't. They're too wealthy.
Tom Ridge,
they make too
mini-me.
much money to be on Medicaid. They can't afford health insurance. When Senator Sanders says that Canada is single payer, there are 35 million people in Canada. There are 330 million people in the United States. Easily the
Doesn't
number
matter.
of people on a public option. It could easily be 35 million.
You're
and
right.
for them,
And
it would
statistics
be
and insurance pools
Medicare
means
for
ours
all,
would be even
as-
more cost
as
effective
Mayor
than
Buttigieg
Canada's, you
says,
fuck.
but for others that want to keep it,
Yeah,
they
there's more
should be
people
able
paying
to
in.
keep it. And
It's
and I
math.
think that
It's
will be the
fucking
fastest way to
math.
get where we need to go.
I'd like to
Also,
add a
I will
point.
say, Bernie is
That's
very
hard, though.
explicit. He has said
global
over and over
healthcare.
again, unlike others that have supported this legislation, over and over again, that this will ban, make illegal, all
Rainbow
insurance
flowers. I worked
except
in the predatory
cosmetic,
industry
except
too. That doesn't
insurance
make
for,
it
I guess
okay.
that's for plastic surgery.
Good.
Everything else is banned.
Good.
Under the Medicare for All proposal
I'd
that he has
let
put
you go a little
forward.
longer there, but obviously, Senator Sanders, you get a response. Senator Sanders, you
Just very
respond.
briefly. You know, Mike, Medicare is the most popular health insurance program in the country. People don't
You don't
like
agree?
their private insurance
What do you
companies.
mean?
They like their doctors and hospitals. Under our plan, people go to any doctor they want, any hospital they want. We will substantially lower the
Bernie
cost
can
of
get feisty.
health care in this country because
I like
we'll stop
spicy.
the
That one eye
greed
just keeps
of the
getting bigger.
insurance companies.
Absolutely, you need to be there.
On this issue, we have to think about how this affects real people. And the reality of how this affects real people is captured in a story that many of us heard, and I will paraphrase.
Tell us another very sad story.
Any night in America, a parent who's seeing that their child has a temperature that is out of control calls 911.
All these platitudes.
And they say, take the child to the emergency room.
Yeah.
And so they get in their car and they drive and they're sitting in the parking lot outside of the emergency room looking at those sliding glass doors while they have the hand on the forehead of their child, knowing that if they walk through those sliding glass doors, even though they have insurance, they will be out a $5,000 deductible when they walk through those doors. That's what insurance companies are doing in America.
Camille, that's true. So what do we do about it? It's very sad. What do we do?
Pepper, it's Kamala, I'm pretty sure. It's not Camilla.
Sorry.
Thank you.
We fight health insurance companies every single
Wait, did
week.
we have any
We stand in line
pronunciation
and pay
battles yet?
expensive prescription
Kamala.
drugs.
No, not
We
yet. No
have
one's
to
speaking
have
Spanish.
A healthcare guarantee.
I want
If you're
another
sick, you're
bilingual
seen in America.
They want to see
you never
Buttigieg
go
bust
broke
out
because-
Norwegian.
A lot of you have been talking tonight about these government health care plans that you've proposed in one form or another. This is a show of hands question, and hold them up for
Her
a
name's
moment
Kamala?
so people can see.
Kamala Harris.
I have something to
Raise
show
your
you
hand
after this.
if your government plan would provide coverage for
do it.
undocumented immigrants.
Oh, there's Biden doing the half raise. He snuck his hand up and snuck it back down.
Why?
Because
he's like,
our country is healthier when everybody is healthier. And remember, we're talking about something people are given a chance to buy into. In
Thanks,
the same
Booty.
way that there are undocumented immigrants in my community who pay. They pay sales taxes.
Enjoy his
they
face.
pay property taxes directly or indirectly. This is not about a handout. This is an insurance program. And we do ourselves no favors by having 11 million undocumented people in our country be unable to access health care. But of course, the real problem is we shouldn't have 11 million undocumented people with no pathway to citizenship. It makes no sense. And the American people agree on what to do. This is the crazy thing. If leadership consists of forming a consensus around a divisive issue, this White House has divided us around a consensus issue. The American people want a pathway to citizenship. They want protections for dreamers. We need to clean up the lawful immigration system, like how my father immigrated to this country. And as part of a compromise, we can do whatever common sense measures are needed at the border. But Washington can't deliver on something the American people want. What does that tell you about the system we're living in? It tells you it needs profound structural reform.
Vice President Biden,
I agree,
you said
Pete.
that your health
Like
care
what?
plan would not cover undocumented
Drink
immigrants. Could you
for
explain your
Pepper getting his
position?
name right.
Beg your pardon,
I believe
Oh,
at the
Pete
show
didn't
of
call him
hands, you
Steve.
did not raise your hand. Did you raise your hand?
No, I did.
Okay,
Master
sorry.
Steve.
They're calling him out on the
you said
half
it
hand
would be
raise.
covered under your plan, which is different than Obamacare.
Yes,
Joe,
but
did you
here-
look left
explain
and
that
right
change?
first?
Yes, you cannot let,
At least look
as the mayor
left.
said, you cannot let people who are sick, no matter
I
where they
understand
come
that.
from, no matter what their status,
How about you, Pepper?
go uncovered. You can't do that.
Sorry,
it's
what?
just going to be taken care of, period. You have to. It's a humane thing to do. But here's the deal. The deal is that he's right about three things.
A
Number
look
one,
left comment was
they in
made
fact
by the
contribute to the
person sitting
well-being of
next
the
to
country,
you.
but they also, for example,
Oh, good.
they've increased
Right.
the
Do this
lifespan of
hand
Social Security
motion.
because they have a job, they're paying a Social Security tax. That's what they're doing. It's
damn it,
increased the
Draggor.
lifespan. They would do the same thing in
fidget,
terms
I'm
of reducing the overall cost of health care by them being able to be treated and not wait till they're in extremis. The other thing is, folks, look, we can deal with these insurance companies. We can deal with the insurance companies by, number one,
Taking all their money and
insurance
doing whatever they
executives
say.
in jail for the misleading advertising, what they're doing on opioids, what they're doing paying doctors to prescribe. We could be doing this
No,
by
the
making sure
opioids.
everyone who is on Medicare, that the government should be able to negotiate the price for whatever the drug costs are.
That was a lot of
we
word
can do this
salad.
by making sure that we're in a position that we in fact allow people. Time's up.
I just want to address
Biden ran out of ideas. We just stopped.
We need to talk to all of you about, so stick with us. We're just getting started. We'll be back with
tape
more from Miami
ended.
right after this.
So we got a minute. Am I out of time? Oh, thank God. I had nothing else to say except for titty, titty, titty. So I'm glad my time was up.
He just needs to bust out a saxophone.
Oh,
It was like
man.
Clinton.
That was
So
good.
I've gotten,
That was a good
like,
Joe moment right there.
600 messages from this GIF export bot, and it just won't stop.
GIF X.
Why'd you go there?
Why have you done this? Why have you done this? What have you
I
done?
thought it would be an easy way to batch do it all. I was wrong.
Well, you know. Hey, I can resize this window. As long as no one jumps in it now, I'll just leave it just in case.
Are we getting a Boozy and QM at all tonight or no?
I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, it seems hard to get them for this when they don't also have like 5 children just screaming and attacking them at all times.
Hey, let's raise a glass to Boozy's balls last night.
To Boozy's balls.
A fucking toddler.
His balls got attacked.
Dove right into him.
Attacked by his like 2-year-old.
I signed in just as it happened. Like the video feed comes in, and I see Boozy's look of horror as an almost naked kid just goes, ah!
He was on his phone camera and he kept it pointed at himself as he went down. So he's just like, "Oh, my balls!" And then he's just have Boozy on the floor filming himself from above. He's like, oh, with a Hot Wheel? That's what happened?
Too bad.
Oh, Lord.
It needs to be a tech deck next time.
Okay, remember, guys, if you want to add more drinking words, just say the word and throw out at least 100 bits so it'll play the chime and I'll see what the hell you said.
Are you just dismissing the preferred way? You're resigning to bits?
Bits or just cash.
Oh, shit, we're back already.
PayPal.me/PepperCoyote.
Senator Harris.
Tech deck shredding on his dick.
More than 130,000 migrants were apprehended
Should I
at
go
the
get my
southern
pet
border.
snake?
Many of
Oh,
them
Lord.
are being detained, including small children, in private detention centers in Florida and throughout our country.
Oh, no.
Most of the candidates on this stage say the conditions at these facilities are abhorrent.
If they say concentration camp today, but not yesterday, goddamn.
2021, if you are president,
Bernie wasn't on last year's
what
show.
specifically
Yesterday's
would
show.
you do with the thousands of people who try to reach the United States every day and want a better life through asylum?
Immediately on January 20th of 2021, I will, first of all, we cannot forget our DACA recipients, and so I'm going to start there. I will immediately, by executive action, reinstate DACA status and DACA protection to those young people.
Still temporary.
I will further extend
Citizenship, baby.
protection for deferral of deportation for their parents and for veterans who we have so many who are undocumented and have served our country and fought for our democracy.
How the hell do you get in the army without documents?
I will also immediately put in place a meaningful
the end of the
process
day,
for
if you're
reviewing the
willing to
cases for
shoot
asylum.
someone
I will
for Uncle
release
Sam.
children from cages.
Can you
I will
fly a drone?
get
We
rid
don't
of the
care.
private detention
Thanks,
She
centers.
said cages. Let's drink for
I
cages.
will ensure that
I'll drink for cages.
this microphone that the President of the United States holds in her hand is used in a way that is about reflecting the values of our country and not about locking children up,
I have to
separating
admit
them
the
from their
badass
parents.
for
And I have
that.
to just say that we have to think about this issue in terms of real people. A mother who pays a coyote to transport her child
That's
through their
stank
country of
on
origin,
Coyote.
through the entire country of Mexico, facing unknown peril to come here. Why would that mother do that? I will tell you. Because she has decided for that child to remain where they are is worse. But what does Donald Trump do? He says,
She
go
said
back
coyote
to
like
where
you say
you came from.
machete.
That is not reflective of our America and our values, and it's got to end.
Governor Hickenlooper. Governor Hickenlooper.
Yes, that is a bad thing.
Day one, if you are
About amnesty. Use that
at the
word.
White House,
Policy.
She navigated away from
respond
actual
with
policy
these children?
implementation. She
Let me
almost
get
went to it and went,
to you
oh shit.
Well,
just a
she
second.
talked about a couple executive orders, but
Governor,
that's like they're so
Day one.
impermanent.
thousands of men, women, and children cross the border asking for asylum for a better life. What do you do? Day one, hour one.
Well, certainly the images we've seen this week
What do you do?
just compound the emotional impact that
quiz,
the world
hotshot.
is judging us by. If you'd ever
Thanks,
told me any time
Dennis
in my
Hopper.
life that this
What
country
do you do,
would
Jack?
sanction federal agents to take children from the arms of their parents,
Shoot the
put them in
immigrant.
cages,
No!
actually put them up
God
for
damn it,
adoption.
Draggor.
In Colorado, we call that kidnapping. I would have told you. I would have told you was unbelievable. And the first thing we have to do is recognize the humanitarian crisis on the border for what it is. Make sure that there are the sufficient facilities in place so that women and children are not separated from their families, the children are with their families. We have to make sure that ICE is completely reformed and they begin looking at their job in a humanitarian way where they're addressing the whole needs of the people that they are engaged with along the border. And we'd have to make sure ultimately that we provide not just shelter, but food, clothing, and access to medical care.
Ms. Williams. Yes, what Donald Trump has done to these children, and it's not just in Colorado, Governor, you're right, it is kidnapping, and it's extremely important for us to realize
Is this an angle thing, or is she just much shorter than him?
From their parents' arms, you are kidnapping them. And if you take a lot of children and you put them in a detainment center, thus inflicting chronic trauma upon them, that's called child abuse. This is collective child abuse. And when this is crime, both of those things are a crime. And if your government does it, that doesn't make it less of a crime. These are state-sponsored crimes.
Congressman.
And what President Trump has done
I'm really
is
glad
not only
whenever she
attack
speaks,
these
she
children,
says she
not only
drops some
demonize
nifty
these immigrants,
blunt
he
words.
is attacking a basic principle of America's moral core. We open our hearts to the stranger. This is extremely important, and it's also important for all of us to remember. And I have great respect for everyone who is on this stage. But we're going to talk about what to do about health care. Well, where have you been, guys? Because if it's not just a matter of a plan, and I haven't heard anybody on this stage who has talked about American foreign policy in Latin America and how we might have, in the last few decades, contributed.
Something healthcare, something Latin America.
What would you do as president with a reality?
Well, one of the worst things about President Trump that he's done to this country is he's torn apart the moral
Answering the
fabric of who we
question,
are.
Kirsten.
But he started separating children at the border from their parents. The fact
What would
that
you do?
7
Donald Trump.
children have died in his custody.
Yes,
The
you're
fact
listing
that
bad
dozens
things.
of
These are all bad
children
things,
have been
yes.
separated from their parents, and they have no plan to reunite them. So I would do a few things.
What if
First,
on one of
I
these
would fight for
personal attacks of
comprehensive
listing
immigration
things,
reform with a
thus he
pathway
has
to
committed
citizenship.
treason and should be put to
Second,
death? What if
I would
one of them
reform how we treat
Oh my
asylum
god,
seekers
I think
at
we
the
get a
border.
huge
I would
applause
have a
break, which is fucked
community-based
up.
treatment center where you're doing within the community, where asylum seekers are given lawyers, where there's real immigration judges, not employees of the Attorney General, but appointed for life, and have a community-based system. I would fund border security, but the worst thing President Trump has done is he's diverted the funds away from cross-border terrorism, cross-border human trafficking, drug trafficking, and gun trafficking, and he's given that money to the for-profit prisons. I would not be spending money in for-profit prisons to lock up children.
Okay,
and
so what do we
asylum
do
seekers.
We had
to get
a
rid of
very
for-profit
spirited
prisons?
debate
That's
on the
good.
stage
What
last
do you
night on the
do?
topic of decriminalization
is
of the
Kamala
border. If you'd be so kind, raise your hand
Probably,
if you think it
she's a cop.
should be a civil offense rather than
Yeah,
a crime across the border without
Lock him
documentation.
the fuck up.
Can we keep the hands up so we could see them?
And let's remember, that's
Fuck
not
you,
just a
Joe.
theoretical
Fuck
exercise.
you.
That
Fuck
criminalization,
you.
that is
At
the
least these
basis
people have
for
the guts
family
to not
separation.
raise their
You
hand
do
and
away
not
with
do
that,
this middling. I
it's
have
no
a
longer
finger.
possible. Of course, it wouldn't be possible anyway in my presidency because it is dead wrong. We got to talk about one other thing, because the Republican Party likes to cloak itself in the language of religion. Now, our party doesn't talk about that as much, largely for a very good reason, which was we are committed to the separation of church and state, and we stand for people of any religion and people of no religion.
I'm waiting for Andrew
We should
Yang
call
just
out
to yell,
hypocrisy when we see it.
"Robots!"
And for a party that associates itself with Christianity, to say that it is okay to suggest that God would smile on the division of families at the hands of federal agents, that God would condone putting children in cages, has lost all claim to ever use religious language again.
Vice President,
Yes. God, can we have any kind of substance about anything?
Well, they do only have like, what, 20, 30 seconds?
This is worse than yesterday.
decriminalize crossing the border without documents?
The first thing I would do.
Everyone's just speaking in
is
headlines
unite
and talking
families. I'd
points.
surge immediately. Billions of dollars worth of help to the region.
Start a podcast.
Immediately. Look, I talk about foreign policy. I'm the guy that got a
Four to a
bipartisan
pen.
agreement at the very end of
Mother,
the campaign,
father,
at the very end of
two
our
kids
term,
and one pen.
to spend $740 million to deal with the problem. And that was to go to the root cause of why people are leaving in the first place. It was working. We saw, as you know, a net decrease in the number of children who were coming. The crisis was abated. And along came this president. He said he immediately discontinued that. We all talk about these things. I did it. I did it. 740 million. Now look, second thing we have to do. The law now requires the reuniting of those families. We would reunite those families, period. And if not, we put those children in a circumstance where they were safe until we could find their parents. And lastly, the idea that he's in court with his Justice Department saying children in cages do not need a bed, do not need a blanket, do not need a toothbrush. That is outrageous.
Vice President, the Obama-Biden administration was... The Obama-Biden administration deported more than 3 million
The beat's dropping
Americans. My question to you is, if an individual is living in the United States of America without documents and that is his only offense, should that person be deported?
No.
Depending if they committed a major crime, they should be deported.
No.
And the president was left in his... President Obama, I think, did a heck of a job. To compare him to what this guy's
Stop.
doing
Don't just applaud because
is
saying
absolutely
Obama's name. Jesus Christ.
immoral.
Fucking
But the fact
cucks.
is that,
Oh,
look,
God, that's not
we
a
should
drinking
not be
rule.
locking people up. We should be
That's the
making
Joe
sure
drinking
we
rule
change the
every time he says
circumstance as we
Obama.
did, why they would
Joe
leave
is
in the
yelling
first place. And those who come
he's
seeking
having his
asylum,
old
we should
ideals
immediately
challenged, and
have the
that's what they
capacity
do.
to absorb them, keep them safe until they can be heard.
A 15-second, if you could, if you wish to answer. Should someone who is here without documents, and that is his only offense, should that person be deported?
That person should not be the focus of deportation. We should fundamentally change the way we deal with things.
Ooh,
Senator,
ooh, did you hear what that piece of shit just said? Fuck you,
I
Joe.
agree with a lot of what Kamala just said. And that is, on day one, we take out our executive order pen and we rescind every damn thing on this issue that Trump has done. Number two.
Yeah, duh. Everyone's going to do that,
Number two,
Bernie. That's what
picking up on
happens.
the point that Joe made. We got to look at the root causes.
All right, hold on a second.
And you have a situation where Honduras, among other things, is a failing state. Massive corruption. You got gangs who are telling families that if a 10-year-old does not join that gang, that family is going to be killed. What we have got to do on day one is invite the presidents and the leadership of Central America and Mexico together. This is a hemispheric problem that we have got to address.
Oh, better cut off the only thing that actually had any kind of anything to it. Better tell another sad story.
Someone is here without documents, and that
Shut up, Bernie. We have
is
another
their
sad story to
only
tell. It's
offense.
nothing to do with fucking anything.
Is that person to be deported?
No.
Where are you at?
That
I
person can
suspect
be
I
a
am
part of
not
this
on the same
great
page as you.
American
Exactly.
experience. That person can contribute. My congressional district is one of the most diverse in America, and we see the benefits
Orange
when
tie
people
guy is
contribute
talking.
and they become a part of the community and they're not in the shadow economy.
I mean, he does have,
Day
like,
one
the
for
best
me,
color palette.
families are reunited.
Who's
This
this guy?
president, though, for immigrants, there's
Eric?
nothing he will not do
What
to
a terrible
separate
name.
a family, cage a child.
He looks
or
like an actor that
actually
plays the
erase
president.
their existence by weaponizing the census. And there is nothing that we cannot do in the courts and that I will not do as president to reverse that and to make sure that families always belong together.
Senator Harris.
Okay, we all
Well,
think
thank
families.
you.
Yes,
I
got
will
it.
say
And that's
that-
why
no,
only like 2
absolutely
people
not.
clapped.
They should not be deported. And I actually,
Please clap.
this was one of the very few issues with which I disagreed with the administration, with whom I otherwise had a great relationship and a great deal of respect. But on the secure communities issue,
You don't have to kiss
I
his
was
ass,
Attorney
Kamala. It's
General
okay.
of California. I led the second largest Department
Yeah,
of
she got a
Justice
lot
in the
less
United
aggressive
States,
all of a
second
sudden.
only to the United States Department of Justice in a state of 40 million people. And on this issue, I disagreed with my president because the
I'm a
policy was to allow deportation of people who, by ICE's own definition, were non-criminals. So as Attorney General and the Chief Law Officer of the state of California, I issued a directive to the sheriffs of my state that they did not have to comply with detainers and instead should make decisions based on the best interest of public safety of their community. Because what I saw, and I was tracking it every day, I was tracking it and saw that parents, people who had not committed a crime, even by ICE's own definition, were being deported. But I have to add a point here.
So can we abolish ICE,
This kind
Kamala?
of policy, and I know it as a prosecutor, I want a rape victim to be able to run in the middle of
No, she's
to
just gonna
run in
say
the
what's
middle
wrong
of the
with
street
it.
and wave down a police officer and report the crime against her.
More sad
I
stories.
want anybody who has been the victim of any real crime to be able to do that and not be afraid that if they do that, they will be deported because the abuser will tell them it is they who is the criminal. It is
nonsense.
It is wrong.
We're going to turn to the issue of trade now, if we can. Last night, we asked the candidates on this stage to name the greatest geopolitical threat facing the U.S. 4 of them mentioned China. U.S. businesses say China steals our intellectual property, and party leaders on both sides accuse China of manipulating their currency to keep the cost of goods artificially low. I'll ask this to Senator Bennett to start off with.
Yang gets to talk about UBI.
I think that, first of all, the biggest threat to our national security right now is Russia, not China. And second, on China, we've got competition because of what they've done with our elections.
Any of these guys,
in China, I think the president's been right to push back on China, but has done it in completely the wrong way. We should mobilize the entire rest of the world, who all have a shared interest in pushing back on China's mercantilist trade policies, and I think we can do that. I'd like to answer the other question before this as well.
You have the time.
When I see these kids at the border, I see my mom because I know she sees herself, because she was separated from her parents for years.
My whole chat's just like, who is this guy?
I know.
And for Donald Trump to be doing what he's doing to children and their families at the borders. I say this as somebody who wrote the immigration bill in 2013 that created a pathway to citizenship for 11 million people in this country, that had the most progressive DREAM Act that's ever been conceived, much less passed. It got 68 votes in the Senate. That had $46 billion of border security in it. That was sophisticated 21st century border security, not a medieval wall. And the president has turned the border of the United States into a symbol of nativist hostility that the whole world is looking at, when what we should be represented by
the
is
wall's
the
bad. We got
Liberty,
it, dude.
which has brought my parents to this country to begin with. We need to make a change.
This guy has the same voice as like one of the 3 South Park voices they can do. I have to remember which one it is.
He sounds like a
These guys shouldn't be coming in my mirrors. I do, ma'am. I took our jabs.
You're thinking of Jimbo.
He does. He sounds like Jimbo.
Laughing their asses off about it for the last couple of years. So we should focus on that
Yang's talking.
before we start worrying about
Everybody shut up. He's only get to talk for 2 seconds.
China, they do pirate our intellectual property. It's a massive problem. But the tariffs and the trade war are just punishing businesses and producers and workers on both sides. I met with a farmer in Iowa who said he spent 6 years building up a buying relationship in China that's now disappeared and gone forever. And the beneficiaries have not been American workers or people in China. It's been Southeast Asia and other producers that have then stepped into the void. So we need to crack down on Chinese malfeasance.
It's Mr. Mackey. That's who he sounds
the
like.
tariffs and the trade war are the wrong way to go.
How would you stand up against China?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we've got to recognize that the China challenge really is a serious one. This is not something to dismiss or wave away. And if you look at what China is doing, they're using technology for the perfection of dictatorship.
On NBC.
But their fundamental economic model isn't going to change because of some tariffs. I live in the industrial Midwest. Folks who aren't in the shadow of a factory are somewhere near a soy field where I live. And manufacturers, and especially soy farmers, are hurting. Tariffs are taxes.
Corn.
And Americans are going to pay on average $800 more a year.
They're Chinese, so they want the soy? Is that what you're saying?
China is investing
Booty?
so that they could soon be able to run circles around us in artificial intelligence. And this president is fixated on the China relationship as if all that mattered was the export balance on dishwashers. We've got a much bigger issue on our hands. But at a moment when their authoritarian model is being held up as an alternative to ours, because it looks so chaotic compared to theirs right now. Because of our
And the PlayStation 4 is going to cost up to $25 more if we can't.
Competitiveness. If we disinvest in our own infrastructure, education, we are never going to be able to compete. And if we really want to be an alternative, a democratic alternative, we actually have to demonstrate that we care about democratic values at home and around the world.
We've got a good debate so far. We're going to
Okay, demonstrate we care about democratic values. Strong policy.
Todd, Rachel Maddow will
All right, what is
Pepper,
Xander? What's the most positively surprising thing you've heard thus far in all of this BS, if anything at all?
I think the only reason the only way that I am surprised in it is how few candidates have anything substantive to say. It seems to be very much a platitude and sad story contest.
I like how feisty Bernie's being so far, I'll say.
Yeah, he's working at it. I get a little nervous when Bernie gets loud because I'm like, oh no, Bernie, don't say anything fucking weird.
Oh, yeah, that generational gap might come through at the wrong time. Mustard pants guy.
Yeah, he's back. He's in the same pants. Is this a replay?
Yeah, Hillary's in there.
Oh, is this just like? Oh, let me turn the sound back on.
Than Donald Trump, but we don't elect the
only
president
wardrobe
by
is
national
mustard
popular
brown
vote. We
pants.
do it by the Electoral College, and there Donald Trump had the right combination of votes.
He's in the same pants. This is a different day though. Like, he either recorded all his bits in one go, which actually probably makes a lot of sense. No, sorry. What were you guys surprised by?
This guy wearing the same outfit.
I think he recorded all his bits like in one day, and they're just like stretched them out. This could even be the exact same thing as yesterday. I don't remember.
Okay.
Is a replay? Yeah.
I was surprised by the author seemingly going down the road of dismantle capitalism.
I know. I wish she could have continued that. Apparently, she's moderately like she's not anti-vax, but she's like, well, maybe we should look into this. You know?
I'm kind of.
She shouldn't talk anymore.
I know.
I'm kind of pleasantly surprised that Joe is already pissing people off.
Right?
Already.
Oh, crash and burn, you centrist Republican fuck. I mean, I don't have strong opinions or anything. If Joe Biden gets the nomination, I'm unfortunately voting for him.
Yeah,
I
same.
hate it.
But God, they'll make me so sad. Like anybody on the stage who isn't Joe Biden, I would be happier voting for.
I'm gonna drink every time he says Obama, not because there's a rule. I'm just driven to.
Obama. They asked Yang. Yeah, Yang got to barely talk it. That actually surprised me. I'm surprised Yang hasn't got to talk at all. Like he's. I mean, I guess. Remember, he's also he's popular to us, and we're very internet savvy, and he's kind of an internet candidate.
But he still has way more like in the polls than a lot of those people on the stage.
Like, does your
I'm
mom know
pretty
who
sure,
fucking
yeah.
Andrew Yang is? I know my mom does not.
Well,
Heck,
yes,
I don't think she knows Kamala Harris
is
is
an
either.
internet candidate. You're not wrong about that. I mean, Joe
I guarantee
Rogan
you,
made
my
it pop.
parents don't know who Elizabeth Warren is.
Yeah. I mean, I was proud. My parents both voted for Bernie Sanders just because I was like, hey, you know this guy Bernie Sanders? Like, no. And I'm like, well, he's pretty cool. You should look him up. He's who I'm going to vote for. And they're like, yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll do that. I like my parents a lot. We very much get along politically, which is rare,
No
I know.
comment.
I know. It's very rare.
Xander. You
Yeah.
sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. I already had my tirades. I'm sure it's recorded somewhere.
Gross says that Biden wrote into this debate on Obama's dick.
Basically.
That's funny. Sorry, I don't like Joe Biden very much.
I'm writing it.
I didn't like Hillary Clinton much. I
Obama's
still
dick.
voted for her, though. It's so sad. They keep showing the map where Arizona went for Trump. I'm sorry, where Phoenix went for Trump, Maricopa County. Such horse shit. It was really close,
what?
though.
Was it a work thing or what?
Well, it's just usually the big cities all go Democrat because that's where all the people live. So
Right.
they're looking at the map, and
And
Flagstaff
that's
and
where the
Tucson both
skill
went
of
blue.
empathy is learned.
I cannot believe that frickin' Flagstaff is the most... It's like rich people Republicans, like, you know, true capitalists live in Flagstaff because it's a ski resort town in Arizona.
Dude, as long as you're not touching people's taxes, they don't care who you kill.
Basically, they all live
It's
there
true.
they all live there to run away from everyone. They're all like California refugees, they call themselves.
Yeah, my parents think everyone who's locked up right now deserves to die. I'm sure that's the thing they believe.
All right, come back.
So yeah, this has been Twix. I'm going to put him away now.
Welcome
He is
back
far
to the
too
Democratic
interesting right
presidential
now.
debate from the Arch
Sorry, I
Center
can't
in
see you guys.
Miami.
As
You got
we
Snake out there.
continue
That's
the
cool.
questioning, we want to bring in more members of our team.
So let's turn
Now
over
what
to
now
Chuck
will
Todd
get me
and
in
Rachel
trouble?
Well, Rachel, I had a dream that we've done this before.
No.
This
This
didn't
is
happen.
the first time.
Definitely the first time. Thank you, Lester, Savannah, and Jose. Let's quickly recap the rules one more time. 20 candidates qualified.
Wait,
for
did they
first
film
debate.
this all in
We've
one
heard
night?
From 10 of them from last night. We're hearing from 10 more tonight. Breakdown for each night was selected at random. Candidates will have
Chuck Todd
60
is a
seconds to answer
fuckface.
direct questions.
There's no way. Video would have gotten out.
If necessary.
Was this
Because
pre-recorded?
of this large field of candidates, not every person will be able to comment on everything.
the mics go out
but
again,
the less
we'll
audience
definitely know.
reaction there is, the more time they will all get.
Look, kids, shut the fuck up back there.
We will hear from all of these candidates, but we are going to begin this hour with Mayor
Let's get
Buttigiel.
me and Xander
In
together
the last 5 years,
drinking.
civil rights activists in our country have led a national debate over race and the criminal justice system. Your community of South Bend, Indiana,
Is Rachel mad? Is Maddow actually a lesbian? I haven't looked into this.
Police force
Oh, cool.
in
I didn't know
South
that.
Bend is now 6%
One of the
black
most notable
in a city that is 26%
I had no idea.
broadcast queer
Why has
people.
that not improved
Kind
over
of a
your
big
2
deal.
terms as mayor?
Because I couldn't get it done.
She's a little over the top, but
my community is in anguish
she's
right
fine.
now because of an officer-involved shooting. A black man, Eric Logan,
Uh-oh, sad story
killed
time.
by a white officer.
What are we gonna do about that,
I'm
though?
not allowed to take sides until the investigation comes back. The
Wait,
officer
is this his
said he was
personal
attacked with a knife.
drama
He
thingy?
didn't
Oh yeah,
have
this
his
is in his
body
town.
camera on. It's a
Didn't
mess.
have his body camera on. That's a funny way to say it.
And I could walk you
One
through
could say
all
he
of the
turned
things
off
that
his
we
body
have
camera to
done
murder someone.
as a community. All of the steps that
Weird
we
how
took
cops
from
don't know how to
bias
work
training
body
to
camera.
de-escalation, but
Technology's hard, yo.
Oh, unless
at the right time when a black person dies.
they have black people
Like, when I
detectors.
look into
When the
his
body
mother's
camera sees a black
eyes, I
person, they
have to
turn
face
off.
the fact, and nothing that I say.
No, they can't.
will
It's
bring him
always
back.
at night. They can't tell the difference.
This is an
Yeah, that's
issue
it.
that is facing our community and so many communities
So
around
that's
the
actually genuinely a
And
known
until
bias
we move
in
policing out from the shadow
software
of
world
systemic
right now.
racism,
And dealing with
whatever
visual
this particular
sensors
incident teaches
is
us, we
only
will
really
be
catered
left
to white
with
people.
the bigger problem of the fact that there's a wall of mistrust put up one racist act at a time, not just from what's happened in the past,
wall of
but
mistrust
from
to
what's
get a
happening
guy
around the
that's a
country
symbol.
in the
Also
present. It
a real
threatens
wall.
the well-being of every community, and I am determined to bring about a
Is
day
it spelled like
when a white
MISS
person
space
driving a vehicle
trust,
and a black
and it's
person
like
driving
a
a vehicle, when they see a police
structure?
officer approaching, feels the exact same thing, a feeling not of fear, but of safety. I am determined to bring that day about.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
If you think it's just individual actions, you will never bring that about. It is the system that causes these problems, not individual
Governor, I'll give you
cops.
30 seconds.
I think that the question they're asking
In
in South
fact, it's
Bend, I
easier
think
to
it's
blame a
across the
system,
country,
and
is
therefore you
why
can
has it
identify the
taken so
good
long?
individual
We had a
actors that
shooting
didn't
when I first became
participate,
mayor,
and
10
you have
years
a way
before
out to
Ferguson,
transition to the better
and
fucking
the community
structure.
came together.
Agree.
We created an Office of the Independent Monitor, a Civilian Oversight Commission. We diversified the police force in 2 years. We actually did
it's resume
de-escalation
time.
training. I think the real question that America should be asking is why 5
They're
years
asking,
after
who the fuck
Ferguson,
am I?
every city doesn't have this level of police accountability.
Sue,
Governor
please
Hickenlooper, thank
tell
you.
me you're going to
gotta
be
respond to that.
Anthropon with us.
Look, we've taken so many steps toward police accountability that the FOP just denounced me for too much accountability. We're obviously not there yet. And I accept responsibility for that because I'm in charge.
Policy, you should fire the chief.
Uh-oh.
So
Yeah! Yes!
If you're the mayor, you should fire the chief. If that's the policy and someone died.
All
Yes!
of these issues are
Clap,
extremely
audience.
important, but there are specifics.
can't get away
there are
from this.
symptoms, and the underlying cause has to do with deep grounds of racial injustice, both in our criminal justice system and in our economic system. And the Democratic Party
She's coming
should be
back to
on the
take
side
down
of
capitalism.
reparations for slavery for this very reason. I do not believe
That guy jumped out there. Fire the chief. It's policy the body camera should be on. Fire the chief.
American is woefully undereducated about the
Holy
history
shit.
of race.
Duh!
I clap for him.
Vice President Biden,
Jimbo.
we're going to get to you. Hang on. We're going to get
Stage,
You know what, you're
I
right.
would
I'm
like
gonna
to
drink for
speak
that.
on the issue of race.
Yes, let's go to the person.
Does Camilla just jump in and say, I'm black, I need to talk now?
We'll give you 30 seconds because we're going to come back to you on this again.
And they said, no, you can't! Oh, no!
So, on the issue of
Maddow
race,
gave 30 seconds.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay, good.
That this is an issue that is still not being talked about truthfully and honestly. There is not a black man I know, be he a relative, a friend, or a coworker, who has not been the subject of some form of profiling or discrimination. Growing up, my sister and I had to
Sad
deal
story
with
time.
the neighbor who told us her parents couldn't play with us because we were black. And I will say also that in this campaign,
Yes, Kamala, but
we've
you're on
also
one side of the
heard,
thin
and
blue
I'm
line,
gonna
aren't
direct
you?
this at Vice President Biden. I do not believe you are a racist. And I agree with you.
Oh, well, you're fucking stupid then,
when
Kamala.
you commit yourself to the importance of finding common ground.
He's been making deals with
But I
segregationists.
also believe, and it's personal, and I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country.
Uh-huh.
And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing.
What the fuck, Joe?
And there
I'm
was
so
a
glad
little girl
someone's
in
bringing this up.
California who was part of the second class
Thank you, Kamala.
to integrate her public schools. And she was
Deep
bused
regret
to
has hit his
school every
face.
day. And that little girl was me.
Joe Biden does really good in the
I will
polls
tell
until
you
people.
that
Holy
on this
shit!
subject, it
Joe, you
cannot be
personally
an
racist
intellectual
me.
Debate among Democrats, we have to take it
I didn't say it was
seriously.
legit.
We have to act swiftly. As Attorney
I know how
General of
fake people can
California,
be.
I was very proud to put in place a requirement that all my special agents would wear body cameras and keep
Oh, we got
those
more
cameras
drink
on.
stuff.
Biden's putting on that apologize to Anita Hill face.
Oh shit, is he gonna wag that finger?
Chance to respond.
Oh, look at him. Look at that fucking. I just
Can
want
people see the drink list?
shake him. I just want to shake him. Like, stop making that fucking face.
Do we have to drink every time someone asks a question?
Mischaracterization of my position across the board. I did not praise racist. That is not true.
We have the tape.
Number two, if we want to have this campaign
Would not
litigated
praise-
on who
would not
supports civil
praise
rights and whether I did or not, I'm happy to do that. I was a public defender. I didn't become a prosecutor. I came out and I left a good law firm to become a public defender. When in
Shut up, audience.
When in fact my city was in flames
Phoenix right
because
over
of
here.
the assassination of Dr.
Lawyer
King.
Joe.
Number one. Now, number two, as the Vice President of the United States, I work with a man who, in fact, we worked very hard to see to it we dealt with these issues in a major, major way. The fact is that in terms of busing, the busing, you would have been able to go to school the same exact way because it was a local decision made by your city council. That's
states'
fine.
rights,
That's one of the things I argued for.
States'
that we
rights.
should not be, we should be breaking down
That
these
doesn't work
lines.
very well,
But so
Joe.
the bottom line here is, look, everything I've done in my career, I ran because of civil rights. I continue to think we have to make fundamental changes in civil rights. And those civil rights, by the way, include not just only African Americans, but the LGBT community.
But Vice President Biden, do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?
No.
Do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education.
Oppose a bus.
That's what I opposed.
So who's supposed to order it, Joe?
Of states to integrate public schools in America. I was part of the second class to integrate Berkeley, California public schools almost 2 decades after Brown v. Board of Education.
Because your city council made that decision. It was a
So
local
that's
So
what
you
the
can-
federal government must step
Yes,
in. That's why we
you
have
gotta
the
kick
Voting
some
Rights
ass,
Act,
Joe.
the Civil Rights Act. That's why we need to pass the Equality Act. That's
Oh
why we need
shit,
to pass
Joe,
the
it's going
because
down.
There are moments.
My campaign is sinking. No, no.
To preserve the civil rights of all people.
This is how she's going to get noticed.
From the very beginning, when
Shitting
I
on Joe.
30 seconds, because I want to bring other people into this.
Bernie's in the middle, like, holy shit, I don't have to do anything.
Well, that's what I was saying. This is us helping Bernie at this point.
Bernie gets in. Joe Biden is
out of 98 votes in the United States.
Because, like I said, I'm a casual, so I just know Biden and Bernie. So I
Look
have
at how
to just-
mad he is. He has to defend his bad decisions.
Denying people access to the ballot
I'm a casual when it comes
I
to
agree that
politics.
everybody once they, in fact, they should, anyway, my time's up.
My time's up! My time's up! He stops! He
Senator
just
Sanders,
stops and says
Senator
my
Sanders, I wanna
time's
go to you on
up!
this. You said on the day you launched your campaign,
He runs out of
voters should
words,
focus on what people
stops
stand
dead,
for,
and says my
not
time's up.
candidates' race
That's
or
how much he
age or
respects the
sexual
rule of
orientation.
law. I must stop.
Many Democrats are very excited
Yeah, he has to
by
stop
the
talking before he
diversity
accidentally
on the
says something
stage
bad to
and
come
last
out.
night's stage. And the perspective
no.
that
Is
diversity
he gonna use
brings
a
to
gamer
this
word?
contest
Oh,
and
no,
to these
gamer
issues.
word.
Are you telling Democratic voters that
Sorry,
diversity
Bernie.
shouldn't matter when they make this decision?
I've been drinking.
Absolutely not. Unlike the
Same.
Republican Party, we encourage diversity. We believe in diversity. That's what America is about. But in addition to diversity, in
Joe
terms
Biden's
of
heated
having
gamer
more
moment.
women, more people from the LGBT community, we also have to do something else.
With Twitchy
And that is
Joe.
we have to ask ourselves a simple question. And that how come today the
Jimbo, that's very funny.
worker in the middle of our economy is making no more money than he or she made
Joe Biden,
45
what was
years
with
ago,
when you said that
and
thing
that
on
in the
Friday?
last 30 years, the top 1% has seen a $21 trillion increase in their wealth. We need a party that is diverse, but we need a party that has the
Biden is
guts
lawful,
to
neutral,
stand up to
borderline
the
lawful
powerful
evil at this
special
point.
interest who have so much power over the economic and political life of this country.
Senator Gillibrand, I want to give you 30 seconds on this.
Well, first
Kamala
of all,
is just thinking about her next Joe
We've
attack.
had a lot of good ideas on this stage tonight and a lot of plans. But the
This
truth
is the infighting
until you go to
strategy.
the root of the corruption,
Kamala
the
has
money
found
in
her
politics,
place.
As long as
the
it's
fact
directed
that
at Biden,
Washington
fine.
is run by the special
Or Kirsten,
interests,
she's
you are
never
never
gonna
going
do
to solve any of these problems. I have the
I don't know
most
much about her.
comprehensive
What are her,
approach that experts
difficult
agree is the most
spots?
transformative plan to actually take on political corruption,
Andrew Yang
to
just
get money
jumps
out
in.
of
Joe Biden
politics
makes robots
through
in his
publicly funded
basement.
elections, to have clean elections. If we do that and get money out of politics, we can guarantee health care is a right, not a privilege. We can deal with institutional racism. We can take on income inequality.
You're right,
and we can
we
take
can,
on the
but
corporate
how?
corruption that runs Washington.
The first constitutional amendment to do that was introduced by me when I was a young senator.
Thank you, Vice President. We're
Oh
gonna
my
shift
God.
topics here.
Stop
Senator
calling him
Bennett,
vice president.
is for you. On the issue
That
of
is one of
partisan
those
gridlock,
things where you do get it for
President
life.
Obama
like
promised in
consolation
2012 that
prize
after his
being
reelection,
VP
Republicans
in
would
its
want to work with
ineffectual
Democrats.
role
Fever
is you
would
get to
break.
keep the title.
That did not happen. Now Vice
I want a
President
bullshit
Biden is
title
saying
for life.
the same thing. That if he is elected
Professional
Like how
furry,
in 2020,
go.
both
Like
parties
you have to
will
refer
wanna
to
work
boxers
together.
as like champ for their
Should
entire
voters
lives.
believe that somehow if there's a Democratic president in 2021, that gridlock is going to magically disappear?
No, you have to
Will not
destroy the
magically disappear
Republican
as long as
Party.
Mitch McConnell is there first. Second,
When's the last time-
that's why
Oh, this is Mr. Mackey.
it's important for us to win not just the presidency, to have somebody
How do you reach
that can
across
run in
the
all
aisle when
50
they think
states,
taxation
but
is theft?
but to win the Senate as well.
How do you reach
and that's
across
why
the
we have
aisle
to
where if
propose
you're not a white
policies
Christian,
that can be
you're not
supported,
worthy
like
of
Medicare
living?
Act, so that we can build a broad coalition of Americans to overcome broken Washington,
did
D.C. I agree with what Senator Gillibrand was saying. I share a
Okay.
lot of her views. We need to end gerrymandering in Washington.
We need to end
need to end
gerrymandering,
political
okay.
gerrymandering in Washington.
Xander, there's
We're gonna
your
stop
title.
Washington
Senator
for
couldn't do
chairman,
anything
okay?
about it.
What's that?
We need to overturn
Xander
Citizens
Chippy
United.
Champ the
the
Blue.
court was the one
Yes.
that gave us Citizens United. And the attack on
No,
voting rights
Citizens
in
United is
Shelby
bad,
versus
okay?
Holder is something we need to deal with. All of those things has happened since Vice President Biden was in the Senate. And we face structural problems that we have to overcome with a broad coalition. It's the only way we can do it. We need to root out the corruption in Washington, expand people's right to get to the
Did
polls.
he just
and I
say
think
the
that we can
Democratic
succeed.
equivalent of drain the
30
swamp? I
seconds.
think that's what he just said.
It does sound as if you haven't seen what's been happening in the United
Have they
States
mentioned
Senate over the
weed
last 12 years. It
once?
didn't happen.
Nah, I think weed's a foregone conclusion. We already know.
Just since we
Like
were
they all
president,
agree.
Because
We needed
There's
two
no
bills
reason
to pass an
Biden calls it a
$800 billion
gateway drug.
recovery act that
Right.
kept us from going into depression. I got three
Someone
votes
is
changed.
going to bring it up
We
on
needed to be
purpose to
able to
sink him.
keep the government from
Biden's
shutting
here he
down
comes.
and going bankrupt.
Hold
I
on,
got
let's
Mitch
let him-
McConnell
let's
to raise
listen to him
taxes
sit on his dick.
$600 billion by raising the top rate. And as recently as after President got elected, I was able to put together a coalition of the Cures Act that billions of dollars go into cancer research, bipartisan. But
Yeah, of course,
sometimes
Joe.
you can't do that.
No, you
Sometimes
didn't
just have
cure
to go out and
cancer.
beat
What the
them.
fuck?
I went
Your
into
son
20
died of
states,
cancer, so
over
stop
60
it.
candidates,
Okay,
and guess what? We beat them. We won back the Senate.
Thank you.
Chuck,
Thank you,
the
Mr.
problem with what
Go
the
ahead,
Vice
30
President...
seconds.
Oh, Mr. Mackey is
30 seconds.
pissed.
Mr. Mackey's. Come on, Mackey.
Sometimes you do have to beat him, but the deal that you talked about with Mitch McConnell was a complete
bad.
victory for the Tea Party. It extended the Bush tax cuts permanently. The
Yes,
Democratic
thank you.
Party had been running against that for 10 years. We lost that economic
Collaborative
argument
Joe
because
over here.
That deal extended almost all those Bush tax cuts permanently and
You know,
put
this
in
guy, I don't
place
think
the
he has a
mindless
chance, but at
cuts
least he's,
that
like,
we still
just
are dealing with
doing the
today
flamethrower
that are
bit.
called the
Kamala has been like, yo,
That
time to
was
fuck
a
up
great
Joe,
deal
everybody.
for
Here we
Mitch
go.
Yeah, it's like anyone
It
who
was a
doesn't think they're
terrible
gonna win is
deal
just
for
fucking up
America.
Joe now.
Thank you, Senator Bennett.
They just don't want Joe to win.
Go ahead, 30
The
seconds.
reason why the Trump tax cut had to be passed is because they had to pay back their donors. You heard it. They actually said those
true.
words.
That's
so
very
the corruption
true.
in Washington is real, and it is something that makes every one of the
Which is
plans
why
we've
I'm
heard
not
about
taking
for
any
the
corporate
months
money.
Impossible.
Oh, wait.
And I have the most comprehensive approach to do it with clean elections, publicly funded elections. So we restore the power of our democracy.
I'm up for publicly funded
into the
elections.
hands of the voters, not into the Koch
Yes.
brothers. We were talking about issues. Imagine
Money is not
we're
free
in
speech.
Florida.
This is not
Imagine
debatable.
the Parkland kids having having as much power in our democracy as the Koch brothers or the NRA. Imagine their voices carrying
corporations are people, my friend.
All right, I like Gillibrand a little more now.
Their voice is
That's a good point.
Senator Gillibrand,
I'm trying to get
president, it's the first thing I'm going to do because nothing else is possible, whether it's education or healthcare or ending institutional racism.
Senator Sanders, I'd like to put a different question to you. Roe versus Wade has been the law of the land since 1973. Now that there is a conservative majority on the Supreme Court, several Republican-controlled states have passed laws to severely restrict or even ban abortion. One of those laws could very well make it to the Supreme Court during your presidency, if you're elected president. What is your plan if Roe is struck down in the court while you're president?
Well, my plan is somebody who believes, for a start, that a woman's right to control her own body is a constitutional right, that government and politicians should not infringe on that right. We will do everything we can to defend our Roe versus Wade. Second of all, let me make a promise here. You ask about litmus test. My litmus test is I will never nominate any justice to the Supreme Court unless that justice is 100% clear he or she will defend Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, okay,
Third
duh.
of all, I do not believe in packing the court. We got a terrible 5-4 majority conservative court right now. But I do believe that constitutionally we have the power to rotate judges to other courts. And that brings in new blood into the Supreme Court and a majority, I hope, that will understand
the judges.
A woman has the right to control her own body and that corporations cannot run the United States.
Yo, he's talking about making sure Supreme Court are not truly lifetime appointments to the Supreme Court.
That is the
That's
biggest
cool.
bombshell
And
tonight.
Roe is gone.
That's awesome.
All of the things you just described would be to try to preserve Roe. If Roe is gone, what could you do as president?
Definitely. They're kings of the court, queens of the court.
Was it a time when the life expectancy was what, like 40?
Medicare for all guarantees every woman in this country the right to have an abortion if she wants it.
Thank you, Senator.
And can I just address this for a second?
Okay.
And I want to
I'm drinking for that, by the way. Drink for
I gotta fill my drink again.
And to the men who love them. Women's reproductive rights are under assault by President Trump and the Republican Party. 30 states are trying to overturn Roe v. Wade right now. And it is mind-boggling to me that we are debating this on this stage in 2019 among Democrats, whether women should have access to reproductive rights. I think we have to stop playing defense and start playing offense. But let me tell you one thing about politics, because it goes to the corruption and the deal-making.
Drop a line and it came out
when
awkward.
the doors closed and the negotiations are made, there are conversations about women's rights, and compromises have been made on our backs. That's how we got to Hyde. That's how the Hyde Amendment was created, a compromise by leaders of both parties. Then we have the ACA. During the ACA negotiation, I had to fight like heck with other women to make sure that contraception wasn't sold down the river or abortion services. And so what we need to know is, imagine this one question. When we beat President Trump, and Mitch McConnell walks into the Oval Office, God forbid, to do negotiations, who do you want, when that door closes, to be sitting behind that desk to fight for women's rights? I have been the fiercest advocate for women's reproductive freedom for over a decade. And I promise you, as president, when that door closes, I will guarantee women's reproductive freedom.
When that door closes, I will eat Mitch McConnell's beating heart.
It doesn't have one of those.
Oh no, his dead black heart, I guess.
Climate change.
Does anyone know Andrew Yang is in the room?
It's pretty obvious. Obviously, the state as well.
Someone go find Andrew Yang.
Many of the candidates
He's playing
weigh in on
fucking
their
Candy Crush.
Explain specifically.
Wrong, Draggor. Well, first of all, I don't even call it climate change. It's a climate crisis. It represents an existential threat to us as a species. And the fact that we have a president of the United States who has embraced science fiction over science fact will be to our collective peril.
Damn, that is a good line. Fuck yeah.
While the embers were smoldering,
Come on, that was a
the
really
wildfires
good line.
in California, I spoke with firefighters who were in the midst of fighting a fire while their own homes were burning. And on this issue,
I think Kamala
it is a
going to be
critical
the
issue that is
standout,
about what we must do to confront what is immediate and before us right now. That is why I support a Green New Deal.
Going to win,
it is why I believe on day one, and as president, will re-enter us in the
Who,
Paris
Kamala?
Agreement.
Yeah,
because we have to
she's
take
still less
these
establishment than
issues
frickin'
seriously.
Joe.
And frankly, we have a president of the United States. We
Well,
talked
yeah,
about, you asked before, what is the greatest national security threat to the United States?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's Donald
compared
Trump.
to our top tier picks.
And
I
I'm
get
going
what
to
you
tell
mean.
you
But
why.
Kamala would not
And I'm
be
going
the
to tell
worst.
you why.
despite very
Because I
obvious
agree,
flaws
climate
for
change
our values.
represents an existential threat. He denies the science.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You want to talk about North Korea, real threat in terms of nuclear arsenal, but what does he do? He embraces Kim Jong-un, a dictator for the sake of a photo op.
On the next break,
Putin,
remind me to
you want to
give
talk
my
about
defense
Russia?
for
He takes the word of the Russian president.
They joke that Andrew Yang is currently streaming from his podium on his cell phone so someone can watch him.
And our election.
That's not happening, but it'd be
These are the
funny.
issues that are before us, Chuck.
I hear you. Thank you, Senator Harris.
Yeah, Kamala was very conservative when she was a cop.
your climate plan-
We're supposed to believe she's different now.
If you're elected president in your first term, how is this going to help farmers impacted by climate change in the Midwest?
Well, the reality is we need to begin adapting right away.
Right,
but we
Pete's
also
talking, I'm
can't
getting a
skip
drink.
beat on preventing climate change from getting even worse. It's why we need aggressive and ambitious measures. It's why
Catch
we
up.
need to do a carbon tax and dividend.
Pepper comes
But
back.
I would
I
propose
wanna
we do it
give
in a
him
way
my
that is
defense of
rebated out
Kamala.
to the American people in a progressive
You know the
fashion
name
so that
right?
most Americans
Yeah, Kamala
are
Harris.
made more than whole. This isn't theoretical for
You
us
can
in
hear me
South
right
Bend
there.
either. Parts of California on fire. Right here in Florida, they're talking about sea level rise. Well, in Indiana, I had to activate the emergency operations center of our city twice in less than 2 years. The first time was a 1,000-year flood, and the next time was a 500-year flood.
Amaretto
This is not
kitten,
just
yeah,
happening
opportunist
on the Arctic
vibes
ice
is
caps. This is happening
something
in
we're
the
all
middle of
kinda
the
on
country,
board with
and we've
as
got
far
to
as
be
Kamala.
dramatically
But
more aggressive
she
moving
does
forward. Now,
have
here's what
the
very few
few
people
policy
talk about.
things she talks
First of all,
about.
rural
Some of them
America
are pretty good.
can be part
They're
of the
decently
solution
progressive.
instead of being told they're part of the problem. With the right kind of soil management and other kind of investments, rural America could be a huge part of how we get this done. And secondly, we've got to look to the leadership of local communities. You know, there's
I don't know
networks
about
of
y'all, but I'm
mayors and
pretty
cities from
drunk
around the
after-
world who
I'm
have come
trying to
together,
stick- I'm trying to
not
stick
even
the time
waiting
as
for
best
our
we can.
national governments to catch
don't
up. We should
blame
have a
you.
Pittsburgh summit where we bring them together as well as rejoining the Paris.
Thank you, Mayor Buttigieg.
I want to bring Governor Hickenlooper into this for a moment. Governor, you have said that oil and gas companies should be a part of the solution on climate change. Lots of your colleagues on stage tonight have talked about moving away from fossil fuels entirely. Can oil and gas companies be real partners in this fight?
Well, I share the sense of urgency. I'm a scientist, so I recognize that we're
Let's
within
hang
10
out
or
with
12
mobile
years
guys.
of actually, suffering
If we're being completely realistic, there needs to
irreversible
be
damage.
a transitional
But,
period, and maybe one
guaranteeing
of the
everybody a
right
government
things
job
is
is
to
not gonna
enable
get us there.
existing
So
gas and oil
socialism,
companies
in that sense,
to
is
get
not the
into the
solution.
electrical
We have to
game.
look at what really
And the
will make a
renewable
difference. In
game.
Colorado, we're closing
Because
a
there
couple
are
of coal
structures in
plants,
place that
replacing
employ a
fuel
lot of
solar
people.
and batteries,
That's true.
monthly bills go down. We've gone on
And they employ a lot of people that don't have skill sets that translate to
working
green
with the
jobs.
oil and gas industry,
so you kind of have
and
the
we created the first
UBI
methane regulations in the country.
issue
Methane is
boiling
25
underneath.
times worse than CO2. And then we've
Well, yeah,
got
we're
to
gonna
get
run
to
out of
last
jobs
part.
that need to
I
be
mean,
done.
Industrial, heavy industry. We haven't
I was
seen
saying in
plans
particular
yet.
the
If you look
transition from
at
oil
the
to
real
renewable
problem,
sources
CO2,
and electric
the worst
cars, a
polluter of
lot of
CO2
jobs
is China,
will be
is the
lost
United States,
to
and
that
it's
because
concrete,
their
and
skill
it's
sets don't
exhalation.
transfer between the
And
industries.
beyond
There's not
that,
like
I think we
50,
gotta recognize
55
that
plus
only by
60-year-olds
bringing
who
people together,
there's no point in
businesses,
retraining them.
nonprofits,
Just
we
let them
can't
coast, let them
demonize
retire
every
early.
business. We've got to bring them together. Be
Yes,
part of the stick,
yes,
because ultimately,
absolutely.
if we're
It's
not
all right.
able to do that, we will be doomed to failure. We have no way of doing this.
Miller
without
time, baby.
bringing everyone together.
Thank you. Vice President Biden, on the issue of how you do this, Democrats are arguing robustly among themselves.
What do you think, Uncle
about what's
Joe?
the best way to tackle climate change? But if we're honest, many Republicans, including the president,
Thank
are
you
still not
for
sure if they
the
believe it is even
follow.
a serious problem. So, are there significant ways you can cut carbon emissions if you have to do it with no support from Congress?
The answer is yes. Number one, in our administration, we built the largest wind farm in the world, the largest solar energy facility
like
in the
you
world.
personally,
we
you did it?
drove down the
Joe
price,
was out
competitive
there.
price of both of those renewable
Pounding the pavement.
sources. I would immediately insist that we, in fact, build 500,000
color at
recharging
me.
stations throughout the United States of
Red.
America, working with governors, mayors, and others, so that we can go to a full electric vehicle future by the year 2020, or by the year 2030. I would make sure that we invested $400 million
The chat's like, is Yang
in
dead?
new science and technology to be the exporter not only of the green economy, but economy that can create millions of jobs. But I would immediately join the Paris climate accord. I would up the ante in that accord, which it calls for, because we make up 15% of the problem. 85% of the world makes up the rest. And so we have to
Why
have
does he
someone who
keep
knows
yelling?
how to
Stop
corral
being
the rest of
old.
the world, bring them
Shit.
together, and get something done like we did in our
Hey, Hey, holy shit! Apparently we're at like 90+ viewers right now. Goddamn.
Hi, everyone.
You're not allowed to stream video games anymore. Always stream debates.
Is irreparable damage to this planet.
Over there.
This is a global issue. What the President of the United States should do
Hi, I'm
is not
WolfJester.
deny the reality of climate change,
Say that one more
but tell
time.
the rest of the world
WolfJester.
that instead of spending $1.5 trillion
Welcome,
dollars
WolfJester.
on
Thank you for
weapons of
joining us.
destruction,
Hi, thank
let us
you.
get together for the common enemy. And that is to transform the world's energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable
build
energy.
Transformers.
The future of the planet rests on us doing this.
Robots in disguise.
Before we leave this topic,
Here's the solution. Pass the torch. Pass the torch to
Pass
the
the torch,
generation
baby.
that's going to feel the effects of
Take
climate
on
change.
the fossil
Pass the torch to the generation.
There you go. Here comes.
before we leave this topic, here's something you all want to weigh in on. Hold on a moment.
Campaigns of the Republican Party.
All talking, drink.
Doesn't mean you don't have old ideas.
No, we didn't do
And John Kennedy
Real new
did not
ideas.
say,
Wait.
John Kennedy
Oh, right,
did
the
not
author.
say, I have a plan to get a man to the moon, and so we're going to do it, and I think we can all work together, and maybe we can get a man on the moon. And John Kennedy said, by the end of this decade, we are going to put a man on the moon. Because
Man on the
John
moon.
Kennedy was back in the day when politics
Yes, and then massive
included
federal
the people,
funding made that
included
happen.
Imagination, and included great dreams, and included great plans. And I have had a career not making the political plans, but I have had a career harnessing the inspiration and the
I feel like me and Marianne would have a
motivation
good time
and the
hanging
excitement
out.
of people.
She's probably a fun
Masses
wine
of
mom.
people, when we know that when we say we are going
That
to
is
turn from a
such a
dirty
magnificent
economy
picture
to a
you
clean
just
economy,
painted
we're going to
in
have
so
a Green
few
New Deal.
words.
We're going to create
People
millions
should
of
take
jobs.
note.
We're going to do this within the next 12 years.
I'd
because
hang
we're
out
not
with Marianne.
interested in just winning the next election.
Dude,
We are
I'd hang out with
interested
her
in our
and Liz. We got
grandchildren.
We got to
Then
sneak. We're
it
going to
will
sneak
happen.
in a break in a minute.
Oh, I want to hear her and Liz argue.
I'm going to go
Or just
down
talk.
the line here, and I'm asking you, please, for one or two words only.
Version of a guillotine
All right,
demonstrate
please.
One or two words only, Chuck. Here we go.
President Obama in his first year wanted to address both healthcare and climate. And he could only get one signature issue accomplished. It was obviously
Where's
healthcare.
Andrew?
He didn't get to do
It was like, where's
climate
Waldo?
change. You may only get
Where's
one shot,
Andrew?
and your first
Where's Andrew?
issue that you're going to push, you get one shot. That it may be the only thing you get past.
Chuck's
What
trying
is
to make
that
them answer the
first
question so
issue
hard.
For your
You got one
presidency,
shot,
Eric
Mom
Swalwell, you're
Spaghetti.
first.
Go.
Do not miss your chance
Parkland,
to.
For Orlando, for every community affected by gun violence, ending gun violence.
Senator Bennett.
All right, good luck, dude.
Thank you for the follow.
He'd fix climate change. Yep,
Passing a
easy.
family bill of rights that includes a national paid leave plan, universal pre-K, affordable daycare, and making sure that women and
Thank you.
families can thrive in the workplace no matter
All
who
right.
they are.
That was-
Oh, I like
hey,
that.
that was pretty
Okay,
good. Senator Harris.
Then. So passing a middle class and working families tax cut,
That's one.
DACA,
That's one.
guns.
Okay. I'm giving you credit for the first thing you said, the tax cut. I got you. Senator
Come on,
Sanders.
don't shit the bed on this. Come on.
That there's only one or two
All you
issues
just
out
say
there.
was not Joe.
I'm not saying there's one or
Faces
two.
enormous crises.
Senator
we
Sanders.
need a political revolution. People have got to stand up and take on the special interest. We can transform
Come
this
on, hold
country.
Bernie to it.
Vice President Biden, your first issue, Mr. Vice President.
I
Bernie
think you
just said
so
political
underestimate what
revolution.
Barack Obama did. He's the first man to
Obama,
bring
that's what he would do.
the entire
Obama.
world,
I would
196
do
nations,
Obama.
to commit to deal with
Thank
climate
you
change.
for
I don't buy that. But the first thing I would do is make sure that we defeat Donald Trump.
Oh my God, you idiot.
You can't do that on your first day as president.
Your first issue as president that you were going to block and tackle.
We've got to fix our democracy before it's too late. Get that right.
Good.
Climate,
Fix
immigration,
our
taxes,
democracy.
and every other issue gets
Dream
fixed.
small, P.
Mr. Yang.
Before it's too late.
Turn off our body
$1,000
cams before they can
freedom
stop
dividend
us
for
from
every
fixing
American adult
democracy.
starting at age
Here we
18,
go.
which would speed us up on climate change because if you get the boot off of people's
Drink for
throats,
Yang
they'll focus on
speaking.
climate change much more clearly.
Governor Hickenlooper?
There he is, Yang.
I
UBI.
would do a
Finally
collaborative
said his
approach to
thing.
climate change, and I would pronounce it well before the election to make sure we don't re-elect the worst president in American history.
And Ms. Williamson
My
with the
first
last
call
word.
is to Prime Minister of New Zealand, who said that her goal is to make New Zealand the place where it's the best place in the world for a child to grow up. And I will tell her girlfriend you are so on, because the United States of America
She
is going to be
seems
the
fun.
best place in
Maga,
the
you
world for a
fuck.
child to grow up.
You know,
We are going
thank
down.
you. You
New
guys were
Zealand,
close with the
eat
short,
my
at least it was
tape.
shorter
No, they weren't.
responses.
Not at all.
All right. C minus.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with these candidates.
They weren't. It won't. Oh, this is fun, man. This is good times.
Okay, Pepper, I'm gonna give you my reasoning for why I'm trying to not shit on Kamala as much.
Sure.
There is a decent chance that she actually gets a nomination. I'm okay with really railing against Joe because fuck that guy.
Yeah.
But if Kamala gets it, I don't want to get in a situation where it's then hard, where you don't have a Bernie Bros situation that's so against her.
Oh yeah, I don't
she has a lot
hate
of
Kamala by any means.
views.
All right, well, on election day,
Oh shit, I gotta hit mute.
Trump will be something he was not.
There we are. Continue.
Go, go, go.
Thank you for the dude's talking got very loud.
Oh, I muted it.
Are louder.
I mute the middle so we can actually talk for a couple minutes.
Wait, I don't know how to mute it.
I'm pretty sure all of us agree that it's pretty much anyone but Biden at this point.
Yeah.
For the most part. For the most part.
It's Bernie, and everyone wants to shitty on Biden because they don't want Biden to be it.
Everybody's hoping for Bernie or Warren, and yeah, I guess Kamala would be my third place. I guess my first pick after.
Kamala isn't even close to my third as far as actual policy is, but the way she conducts herself is doing incredibly well. And
Yeah.
what I would want to say to anyone, for whatever reason, who's watching us, we shit on Kamala hard because she does have problematic views.
Well, because she has a
but she has our
career.
support if she gets the nom.
Oh,
Like,
definitely.
Absolutely.
I mean, even fucking Biden does. Like, we're not going to vote for Trump. Like, none of us are going to vote for Trump or a third party. We are all going to vote for whoever the Democratic candidate is. And I really hope it's not Joe Biden, but if it is, I'll vote for her. For him. Just like I voted for frickin' Hillary Clinton. I wasn't big on Hillary Clinton. I still voted for her.
Yeah.
All right, so do you think we're gonna talk any UBI, or are they just like? Is that like one of the?
That's all I got.
Forbidden
Thank
words?
you for the follow.
Draggor, what do you think?
I don't really think it's gonna get brought. Do you agree that it's interesting that we haven't hit the weed thing yet? Because
it's not even interesting anymore.
No, Pepper. No, someone's going to bring it up because Biden, in the past couple of weeks, said, I still believe it's a gateway drug.
Oh, yeah, because he's a
going against
fucking
what
asshole.
states are doing.
Hey,
Right.
Trump's only
Someone's
live
gonna
tweeted
use
one
it to
thing.
bury him.
Let me read Trump's only live tweet for this. He just said, all Democrats just raised their hand for giving millions of illegal immigrants unlimited health care. How about taking care of American citizens first? That's the end of that race. Wait, okay. I think he means the political race, not like the race of Americans.
No.
That's the end of that.
Said the
that
quiet
race.
part out loud. Don't worry.
That's the end of Americans. If we give these illegal immigrants health care, the American race will be ended. If you give the wrong Americans health care, that's the real issue. We can't just give the wrong Americans health care. Only the right Americans.
Talking about clean beds and soap? Is that what he's talking about? Health
Oh man, holy shit! Oh, I appreciate all the follows, by the way, guys. Is my little my little animation is working. Look at that! Holy crap! Nice.
Really quick, Xander, what's the Twitter? Do the Twitter handle stuff. Promote your stuff.
Oh
Everyone's
shit!
Watching.
Twitch
Here.
chat. Get in the Twitch chat and just paste things.
Yeah, sure. It's the Draggor Show for Draggor Show and Xander the Blue. That's Draggor 2K, right?
That is the Draggett Show.
I am at Draggor2K on Twitter. That's the primary place I post about the shit I do. See y'all and Pepper and Xander and Alkali and a bunch of us at Anthrocon. Boozy and QM are going to be there too. We got a bunch of cool shit. Are either of you two doing Furry Jury? I got voluntold to do that.
Furry Jury. I don't know. I may end up there. This sounds like the group of people I usually do.
Explain.
Xander uses a puppet because it's cute.
Gonna happen?
Charity Who's Line, yeah, I will be at Charity Who's Line. It's an improv comedy thing. If you think I'm funny, by all means, join us.
Pepper is funny, don't worry.
I have been. I've been known to be funny at times.
I have been funny at more than one time.
I don't trust my consistency. All right, here we go.
I need to say something that Joe's answer
We are
about
a
just
second
like
are going to have a question
take
from
down
Lester
Trump.
in the
That's not how you
audience, but that was just a fake out.
We've had another technical difficulty with these two. Very minor, though. They just came back early.
Swalwell. Among this field of candidates, you have a unique position on gun reform. You're proposing that the government should buy back every assault weapon in America, and it should be mandatory. How do you envision that working, especially in states where gun rights
Start
are
with voluntary.
And like everything.
Keep your pistols, keep your rifles, keep
All
your
of it.
shotguns, but we can take the most dangerous weapons from the most dangerous people. We have the
white
NRA on the
supremacists.
ropes
Oh.
because of the moms, because of the Brady Group,
Yeah,
because
moms.
of Giffers, because of March for Our Lives.
I kind of like this dude. He's made a couple okay points.
He's my least favorite. And buyback of every single assault weapon in America. I've seen the plans of the other candidates here.
Called out booty.
They would all leave
Love that.
15 million
It's like
assault
him and
weapons.
like the lady who keeps making
They
sad
wouldn't do a
stories.
single thing to save a single life in Parkland. I'll approach this
Bernie
issue
did
as a
switch and
prosecutor.
went over to assault weapons
I'll approach
ban.
it as the only person on this stage who has voted and passed background checks, but also as a parent of a
Does anyone
generation
know
who
if
sends our
Bernie
children to
switched
school.
a bit? Because
where we
Vermont
look
was
at what
always
they're
loose
wearing.
with guns.
I haven't
So we
checked
can remember it
in
in
a-
case
in
we
a-
have
in
to
a while.
identify them later.
I've never been
A
bothered by
generation
Bernie's
who
gun
has
policy
seen
because it makes
thousands
sense
of
in
black children
context.
killed in our streets, and a generation who goes to the theater and we actually look where the fire exits are. We don't have to live this way. We must be a country who loves our children more than we love our guns.
I mean, okay.
Senator Sanders.
Fuck you. Boy Scout says look for the fire exits too,
Senator
goddammit.
Sanders,
Be
a Vermont
prepared.
newspaper recently released
Situationally
portions of an interview you gave
All right,
in
shut up. Bernie might be
2013,
talking.
in which you said, quote, my own view on guns is everything being equal,
Here you go, Draggor.
states should make those decisions. Has your thinking changed since then? Do you now think there's a federal role to play?
That's a mischaracterization of my thinking.
It's a
Look,
quote of
we
you.
have a gun. We have
God
a
damn it.
gun crisis
Rachel.
right now. 40,000 people a year are getting killed. In 1988, Rachel, when it wasn't popular, I ran on a platform of banning assault weapons, and in fact lost that race for Congress. I have a D- voting record from the NRA. And I
Get it to
believe
an
that
F.
what we need is comprehensive gun legislation that, among other things, provides universal background. We end the gun show loophole. We end the straw man provision. And I believed in 1988, and I believe today.
Why would you
that
leave
assault
why would you leave
weapons,
15 million
assault
on the
weapons,
streets? Why would you
assault
leave-
weapons are
Senator,
weapons
you leave
are
15
from the
million on the streets,
military,
though.
and that they should not be on
Why do
the
you leave-
streets of America.
You would leave, your plan leaves them on the streets. You leave 15 million on the
We
streets.
banned the sale, and we banned the sale
Will you
and
buy 'em back?
distribution, and that's what I believe for many years.
Will you buy them back?
If people want to buy, if the government wants to do that, and people
You're
want
going to be
bring
the
it back,
government.
yes.
You buy them back.
If someone wants to do them,
Thank you. I
someone
think
like
your
you,
ideas
Bernie,
are
you would have to be the one
and I say
who'd
that there are
want
a lot
to
of
buy
great
them back.
ideas. The problem is Congress has not had the courage to act, which is why when elected president
Genuinely,
of
I
the
don't
United
understand
States,
why Bernie couldn't
I
say
will
that.
give the United States Congress 100
He doesn't
days
like
to
it.
pull
He
their
doesn't like
act
a buyback
together,
program.
bring all these good ideas
Why?
together and put a
I
bill
know, it
on my
sucks.
desk for
Everywhere
signature. And if
fucking
they do
else.
not, I will take executive action and I will put in place
Executive
the most
actions are
comprehensive
so
background check
impermanent,
policy
guys.
we've had. I will require the ATF
guys can hear me,
to
right?
take the
Yes.
licenses of gun dealers who
Yes.
violate the law, and
No,
I
I
will
didn't say it
ban
like
by
that.
executive order the importation of assault
You have to give
weapons.
the
And I'm gonna
ATF a
tell
shit
you,
ton more money to do
as a
audits.
prosecutor, I have seen more autopsy photographs than I care to tell you. I have hugged more mothers who are the mothers of homicide victims, and I have attended more police officer funerals. It is enough. It is enough. There have been plenty of good ideas from members of the United States Congress. There's been no action. As president, I will take action.
Mayor Buttigieg, I want to bring you in on this, sir. A lot of discussion about assault rifles that are often shorthanded as military-style weapons. You are the only person on this stage tonight with military experience as a veteran of the Afghanistan war. Will military families, does that inform your thinking on this view? Do you believe that military families or America's veterans will, at large, have a different take on this than the other Americans who we've been talking about and who Congressman Swalwell is appealing to with his buyback program?
Yeah, of course, because we trained on some of these kinds of weapons. Look, every part of my life experience,
at Xander's
influences.
taint?
Being the mayor of a city where the worst part of the job
Excuse
is
me.
dealing with violence, we lose as many as were lost at Parkland every 2 or 3 years in my city alone. And this is tearing communities apart. If more guns made us safer, we'd be the safest country on earth. It doesn't work that way.
Alright, guys, I'm gonna do my alkaline
And
impression,
common
okay?
sense measures,
Do it.
like universal background checks, can't seem to get delivered by Washington, even when most Republicans, let alone most Americans,
So,
agree it's the right thing to do.
guess
As someone
what
who
happened at my
trained on
job?
weapons of war, I
Oh,
can tell
Boozy, are you here?
that there are weapons that
No!
have absolutely
Alkali
no
impression
place
is
in
happening.
Alkali
American
impression is
citizenry,
happening?
loyalty, and peace.
Oh my god, I thought you were boozy.
Vice President Biden, 30 seconds.
Alkali, what happened?
30 seconds.
Alkali Puppet, played by
I'm the
Xander.
only
What is
person
happening
that's
at your
beaten
day
the NRA
job?
nationally. I'm the guy that got the Brady Bill
because
passed,
of some of the
background check.
people
Number
debating,
one.
there was a lot of sexual affairs being thrown around, and they told me to go home.
During the Obama-Biden administration. I'm also the only guy that got assault weapons
At least
banned.
they sort of respect you.
And the number of clips in a gun banned. And
It
so,
was
folks, look,
nice.
and I would buy
Well,
back those
Are you saying
weapons.
everyone
We
said
already started talking about
the
it.
other F word so
Try
many
to
times you had to leave work?
Be done, and it should be demanded that we do it, and that's a good expenditure of money. And lastly, we should have smart guns. No gun should be able to be sold unless your biometric measure could pull that trigger. It's within our right to do that. We can do that. Our enemy is the gun manufacturers, not the NRA. The gun manufacturer.
Vice President,
But the NRA is taking orders from the gun manufacturer.
Lester Holt has our next
Does he
question.
think
Lester,
the
go ahead.
NRA
All right,
makes
Chuck, this is a
guns?
question from our viewers. We put some suggestions that ask maybe they could
Xander,
share
your
some. Here's one that came from
impression floated
Kathleen
over
from
to you.
Canby,
Oh,
Oregon,
wait.
who
He's
writes, many
dual
fear the
voicing.
current administration has inflicted irrevocable harm on
Oh
our
shit, my
governing
chat just said that
institutions
anybody
and
with a
norms, and
prescription
the
drug of any
process
kind should
on
not be
our
able to own a
reputation
gun. And I'm like,
abroad.
wait a
What
second.
do you see as important
What's
early
happening?
steps in reversing the damage
Words.
done?
If you're on antibiotics, no guns.
What an excellent question. First of all, we have to restore our democracy at home.
I know what you mean, straight
The
to.
rest
I
of the
get
world
it.
is looking for
I'm
us
just
for
being, I'm
leadership.
breaking your
We have a
balls.
president who doesn't believe in the rule of law. He doesn't believe in freedom of the
Excuse me, sir.
press. He
You're-
doesn't
you're
believe in
breaking my
independent
balls.
judiciary. He believes in the corruption that he's
He
brought to
believes in the
Washington,
corruption he's
D.C.,
brought to Washington,
and that is
okay?
what we have to change.
And that's what we need to
why everybody
change.
is up here tonight. And I appreciate the fact that they're up here for that reason.
You no
guns,
Second,
we've got to restore the relationships that he's destroyed.
Chat, stop.
with
Don't
our
be too
allies.
shitty. Don't be
Not
too
just
mean.
in Europe. He flew to the
pile on.
G20 last night.
Bottoms
and
don't
attacked
get guns.
Japan, Germany, and a third ally of ours without saying anything about North Korea.
I could go with that because that means most people won't get guns.
You've got a situation where you have a president
When the
who
dick's so
says
good, you have to
something
shoot him.
happened in the Straits of Hormuz.
Quit being a praying
The
mantis.
whole world doesn't know whether to believe it or not. That is a huge problem when it comes to the national security.
Pineapple on pizza? No guns.
Thank you, Senator Ben. It's a perfect time for me to do
Okay, now that's
another one of these
legit.
down the
Let's
line.
talk
And
about
this is
that
what
one.
this question is, which is
Move
you're
your
going to have
mouth,
to
Alkali
you're
puppet,
likely
while-
to
Look,
have to
Alkali,
reset a
impersonation. Move your
between
hand.
America and another country or entity if you become president because of perhaps because of some relationship that you just mentioned about
Andrew Yang
President
will give you
Trump.
$1,000 a
What is
month
the
if you give him
first
up your guns.
relationship you like to reset
That's
as
it. You be
president?
high
Go
only
down the
counts
line
if you have
and
no
I'll
guns.
some of these ones.
One of my first phone calls would be to call the European leaders and say,
I mean,
"We're
I'd do
back,"
it. It's worth it to
because
me.
I totally understand how important
stop
it is
hunting.
that the United States
I
be
have an
part of
NRA
the Western
Marksman
Alliance.
Award.
I'm trying to get one or two words here.
It's weird how people with weapons training tend to think people should have fewer guns.
And I think the first person,
Yeah.
the first country I
So, I mean,
would
so
go
do
to,
cops.
and I understand they've
Cops
been
think people
cheating
should have fewer
and
guns.
stealing intellectual property would be China, because if
Okay.
we're going to
Well,
deal with public health pandemics
For
if we're
different
gonna
reasons,
deal
but
with
still.
all the challenges of the globe, we've got to have relationships with everyone.
Mr. Yang,
In the
we're
show
trying to
of
squeeze
total
in a couple
irony,
more
my
things
friend
before we go
John
another
shot
break.
his
China, we
NRA
need to
license
cooperate with them
after
on
he was
climate
done
change,
with it.
AI, and other issues, North Korea.
Thanks for the quickness. Mayor Buttigieg.
Oh,
Andrew,
Andrew.
which are our most important allies he will have pissed off worse between now and then. What we know is
said
that
a
our
bad word.
relationship with the entire world needs to change. And it starts by modeling American values.
Is that
at
the
home.
dirtiest
Okay, Mr.
language
Vice
we've
President,
heard
I'm trying to
tonight?
be
Drink
quick.
for dirty language.
He said
NATO
pee-pee.
will fall apart if he's elected 4 more years as the single most consequential alliance in the
Okay.
history of the United States.
Senator Sanders.
Well, Biden, you're the only one who could lose to
It's
him,
not
so
one
thanks.
country. I think it is rebuilding trust in the United Nations and understand that we can solve
Got it.
conflicts without war, but with diplomacy.
Senator Harris.
Chuck,
All the
you're being a
members of the
dick.
NATO alliance.
Senator Gillibrand.
President Trump is
I'm okay
hell-bent
with
on
this.
starting a war with Iran. My first act will be to engage Iran to stabilize the Middle East and make sure we do not
Thank
start an unwanted, never-ending war.
Senator Bennett, quickly.
Our European allies and every Latin
I want one of
American
them to just
country
say
that's willing to have a conversation about how to deal with the refugee crisis.
And Congressman Swalwell.
My first act in foreign policy, we're breaking up with Russia and making up with NATO.
Thank you all. Thank you all. We're done.
What the fuck?
Vice President,
Break up with NATO?
You have made your decades of experience in foreign policy
We're
a
fucking
pillar of
bitches
your
and
campaign.
getting money.
But when the time came to say yes or no on one of the most consequential foreign policy decisions of the last century, you voted for the Iraq war. You have since said you regret that vote. But why should voters trust your judgment when it comes to making a decision about taking the country to war the next time?
Because once Bush abused that power, What happened was we got elected after that. I made sure the president turned to me and said, Joe, get our combat troops out of Iraq. I was responsible for getting 150,000 combat troops out of Iraq, and my son is.
But how many would you have had to get out if you didn't put them there in the first place, Joseph?
Afghanistan. It's long overdue. It should end. And thirdly, I believe that you're not going to find anybody who has pulled together more of alliances to deal with what is the real stateless threat out there. We cannot go it alone in terms of dealing with terrorism. So I'd eliminate the act that allowed us to go into war and not the AUMF, and make sure that it could only be used for what its intent was, and that is to go after terrorists, but never do it alone. That's why we have to repair our alliances. We put together 65 countries to make sure we dealt with ISIS in Iraq and other places.
Yeah, how'd that fucking work out, Joe? Are you bringing back up the coalition of the willing? The coalition of the willing? That's what you're going to bring up?
Have in our record.
They sent trained monkeys.
I helped lead the opposition to that war, which is a coalition.
I don't remember what country. One country volunteered to send trained monkeys to find
lead the
landmines.
effort for the first time to utilize the War
This is
Powers
some
Act
2008
to
shit.
get the United States out of the Saudi-led intervention in Yemen, which is the most horrific humanitarian disaster on earth. And
Thank you.
thirdly, let me be very clear. I will do everything I can to prevent a war with Iran, which would be far worse than disastrous war with
Senator
Iraq.
Sanders, thank you.
He is great at lists.
We got
Good at
news
lists.
is you get more time to talk, but I have to
Checklists
sneak
are how you
in
get
one
shit
more
done.
break. We will be right back with more debate.
No more commercials. You only have fucking 12 minutes anyway. Shit. All right, Alkali impersonation puppet. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you, my friend?
That's good. I'm doing very well. It's good to hear not your voice.
I don't expect an answer, but Alkali impersonation puppet, what's a topic you do genuinely care about that you think more people should care about? He disappears.
He's gone.
Honestly, and I hate to be the one to say this, I do think election reform should be a pretty high one. There are a lot of things more important. There truly are, but we need to fix them.
Fixing the mechanism that lets you fix the other things arguably is the most important thing.
I'm sorry, but I completely agree with that. This is a nightmare, what we've been going through.
Man. Sorry, I just zoned
Xander,
out. Oh, he's
Alkali,
putting
say
up
something.
he's putting up the map. He's putting up the calendar of when. Oh, right. Sorry. He put up the calendar with states. I'm like, Iowa, New Hampshire. What is this? Oh yeah, the primary does eventually happen.
Xander, Alkali, say something. Pepper, can you hear them?
I can hear. Yes.
So here's the thing. This is actually really good. I don't know if you know. We have been doing caucuses far too often. A lot of the caucuses are going over to normal primaries this year. I can't remember the number, but it's...
That's good.
I mean, it's almost double digits.
Great. Caucuses kind of don't make sense anymore. Neither do straw
Alkali,
polls.
do remember to keep holding the push to talk button until like a second or two after you're done talking.
Since there's so many fewer of us tonight than yesterday, you can probably actually turn off push to talk if you guys have been doing that.
I've been doing push to talk all night.
Oh, feel free to take it off. It's okay. The people who really need push to talk are those with infants.
Thank you for If I turn off push to talk, I can't bitch about my job with my boyfriend.
Hold on. What did you think of Mustard Pants?
He's just as cute as usual.
I watched Dexter's Laboratory.
Man, Xander, you're so good at these voices. You can just swap right between them like nothing's happening.
And I'm drinking a glass of water.
Man!
Show us the glass of water, you fuck.
Dump it into the puppet, you coward.
Picture didn't happen.
Don't destroy the puppet. Don't destroy the puppet.
Oh yeah, it's like a one-of-a-kind thing. Never mind, don't do that.
To make their case to the voters, 45 seconds each. We begin with Congressman Swalwell.
We can't be a forward-looking party if we look to the past for our leadership. I'm a congressman, but also a father of a 2-year-old and an infant. When I'm not changing diapers, I'm changing Washington.
My neck is growing.
Most of the time, the diapers smell better. I went to Congress at 31, and I found a Washington that doesn't work for people like you and me. It's made of the rich and the disconnected. I was the first in my family to go to college and have student loan debt.
Same.
And so I have led the effort to elect the next generation
I'm the
of
first in
members
my
of
family
Congress,
to even
and
graduate
we have
high
a
school.
moment to seize. This is a can-do generation. This is the generation that will end climate chaos. This is the generation that will solve student loan debt. And this is the generation that will say enough is enough and end gun violence. This generation demands bold solutions. That's why I'm running for president.
Congressman, thank you.
Ms. Williams?
Amrita says the diapers never smell any better.
We're going to talk more tonight about how we're going to beat Donald Trump.
Barreling forward.
I have an idea about Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not going to be beaten just by insider politics talk. He's not going to be beaten just by somebody who has plans. He's going to be beaten.
He's not going to be beaten by
somebody who
name
has an
recognition,
idea
is what he's
of
not going to be
stuff.
beaten by.
This man has reached into the psyche of the American people, and he has harnessed
does
fear for
have the
political
look of
purposes.
someone who
So,
consistently
Mr.
loses
President,
herself.
if you're listening, I want you to hear me, please. You have harnessed fear for political purposes, and only love can cast that out. So
Hey, Xander, what's the
sir,
line?
I have a feeling you know
Don't
what
ever
you're doing.
forget, you can't
I'm
have a
going to
woman
harness
party
love
without
for
old
political
dick.
purposes.
I can't
I
believe
will
they
meet
did
you
that
on
joke in that
field
show.
and serve
One of the all-time
everyone.
greats.
Ms. Williamson, thank you.
Senator Bennett. Thank you. Thank you.
That was
You know you're-
Hicks shit.
My
I
mom
like
and her
it.
parents.
You know
came
you're
to the
getting
United
older when
States
Lemon
to
Party
rebuild
appears
their
less
shattered
gross.
lives. In the only country that they could. 300 years before that, my parents' family came searching
Okay.
religious freedom here. The ability for one generation to do better than the next is now severely at risk in the United States,
we're speaking in sentence
especially
fragments
among
now, apparently.
children living in poverty like the ones I used to work for in the Denver public schools.
Pepper,
That's
you just
why
made
I'm
me
running
laugh
for
so hard
president.
I had to mute
I've
myself.
had 2 tough races in Colorado by bringing people together, not by making empty promises.
Okay.
And I believe we need to build a broad coalition of Americans to beat Donald Trump, end the corruption in Washington, and build a new era of American democracy and American
Mr.
opportunity.
Becky.
This
Okay.
is going to be hard to do, but it's what our parents would have expected.
If
It's
he's
what our
against
kids
drugs,
deserve.
all I ever
hope
wanna
you
see
join
is
me in
drugs
this
are
effort.
bad.
Thank you.
Thank you. Governor Hickenlooper.
We didn't talk about weed.
We
Hickenlooper.
don't need, we do not need to talk about weed. We need to
don't.
talk about what to do about the people in jail.
Progressive states in
Weed
America.
is part of
We
healthcare.
expanded reproductive
Yeah,
health
kinda.
to reduce teenage abortion by 64%. We were the first state to legalize marijuana, and we
Woo!
transformed our
Yeah,
justice
we mentioned
system in
weed.
the
They
process.
said it.
We passed
That's
universal
good.
background checks in a purple state.
I can't drink, I'm out.
Universal health care coverage. We attacked climate change with the toughest methane regulations in the country, and for the last 3
I
years,
go get
we've
my
been the #1
shitty port
economy in
wine
America.
and drink that.
You don't need big government to do big things. I know that because I'm the one person up here who's actually done the big progressive things everyone else is talking about. If we turn towards socialism, we
Yes.
run the risk of helping to re-elect the worst president in American history.
Thank you, Governor.
Who's the worst president in American history?
Boo him! Boo this man!
Women in America.
How are we going to
women in
re-elect?
America are on
How are we going to
fire.
re-elect
We've
Bush
marched, we've
or
organized,
Trump if we
we've run
become
for
socialists?
office, and we've won. But our
I
rights are
became
under
political
attack
for
like
a
never
moment,
before
sorry.
by President Trump and the Republicans who want to repeal Roe v. Wade, which is why I went to the front lines in Georgia to fight for them. As president, I will take on the fights that no one else will. I stood up to the Pentagon and repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I've stood up to the banks
You did
and
that?
voted against the bailout twice.
Good.
I stood up to Trump more than any other senator in the
Did you
U.S.
really?
Senate. And I have the most
Just
comprehensive
her.
approach for getting money out of politics with publicly
I
funded
get the
elections
posturing,
to
but did
deal
she
with
actually take a
political
significant
corruption.
role in that? If she
now
did,
is not
that's important
the
to
time
me.
to play it safe.
I
now
don't
is
actually
not
know, to be
the
honest
time
with you.
to be afraid of first. We need a president who will take on the big challenges, even if she stands alone.
Chad had a good point saying that there's no point in running from the word socialist when no matter what the fuck you do, the Republicans are going to call you a
First, I wanna
socialist
thank
anyway, so
everyone
like,
who put
who
me on
cares?
this stage
Do what you want to
tonight.
do.
I am proof that our democracy still works. Democrats and Americans around the country have one question for their nominee, and that is who can
yes,
beat Donald
is the
Trump
dude who
in
barely
2020.
spoke.
That is the right question.
Andrew's
And the right
talking.
candidate to beat Donald Trump will be solving the problems that got Donald Trump elected, and will have a vision of a trickle-up economy that is already drawing thousands of disaffected Trump voters, conservatives, independents, and libertarians as well as Democrats and progressives. That candidate, I can build a much broader coalition to beat Donald Trump. It is not left, it is not right, It is forward, and that is where I'll take the country in 2020.
I'm laughing because my stream only fucked up when Yang talked.
Yeah, I'm like, am I that
It's
messed
determined
up,
to make sure no
or
one can
was
hear
her
Yang.
frame skipping and rubber banding?
We need a nominee who has the ability to prosecute the
Ooh, those
case against 4
frames.
more years of Donald
Come on, I
Trump,
was like,
and I will
first
do
off,
that.
fuck Joe.
Second, this election is about you.
I wish they talked that
This
bluntly.
is about your hopes and your dreams and your fears and what wakes you up at 3 o'clock in
If
the
this was
morning.
British Parliament, that would
And
have
that's why I
happened.
have what I call a 3 a.m. agenda. That is about everything from what we need to do to deliver health care to how you will be able to pay the bills by the end of the month. And when I think about what our country needs, I promise you, I will be a president who leads with a sense of dignity, with honesty, speaking the truth, and giving the American family all that they need to get through the end of the month in a way that allows them to prosper. So I hope to earn your support. Please join us at KamalaHarris.org.
Senator, thank you.
Website plug, baby.
Nice.
Nothing about politics
No,
is
she
theoretical
didn't
for
stick
me.
the landing there.
I've
She
had
was
the
very awkward.
experience
Right,
of
Bougie Pete.
writing a letter to my family, putting it in an envelope marked just in case, and leaving it where they would know where to find it in case I didn't
Yeah,
come
I'm
back
really
from
glad I'm not at
Afghanistan.
work right now.
Oh no.
I have the experience of being in a marriage
Yeah, that's what
that
stemmed all
exists
this.
by the
Holy
grace
shit,
of a
really?
single
That's
He was
why
a
I'm
gay
home right
soldier
now.
and you couldn't stop him.
I have the experience of guiding
For being a soldier or
community
for being
where
gay?
per capita
Both.
income was below
Exactly.
$20,000 when I took office into a brighter future. I'm running because the decisions we make in the next 3 or 4 years are going to decide how the next 30 or 40 go.
But
And when I get to the
homophobia
current age of
doesn't
the current
exist
president
anymore,
in the year
right?
2055, I
Right?
want to be able to look back on these years and say my generation delivered climate solutions, racial equality, and an end to endless war. Help me deliver that new generation to Washington before it's too late.
Thank you. Senator Sanders, 45 seconds. The floor is yours.
Anyone in the chat who's shitting on
suspect
UBI
people
doesn't
all over the country who
understand
are watching
human
this debate
nature
are saying,
and that
"These are good
boredom makes
people,
us do
they have
shit.
great
Please
ideas."
stop.
But how come
Yeah, would still
nothing
work,
really
dude.
changes? How come for the last 45 years wages have been stagnant for the middle class?
Fuckers do
How come
shit
we
for
have the
free
highest
already.
rate of childhood poverty? How come 45 million
What,
people
Pepper? We've
still
never
have
done
student
anything
debt?
for free.
How come 3 people own more wealth than the bottom half of America? And here is the answer. Nothing will change unless we have the guts to take on Wall
Here we
Street,
go.
the insurance industry, the pharmaceutical industry, the military-industrial complex, and the fossil fuel industry.
Talk about
if we
donors.
don't have the guts to
There we
take
go.
them
Fuck the
on,
pharmaceutical
we'll continue to
industry.
have plans,
Oh.
we'll continue to
Healthcare
have talk,
industry.
and the rich will
Poor
get richer,
pandas.
and everybody
We'll be
else
fine.
will be struggling.
Thank you, Senator.
We still have teachers, by the way. That's
We'll
a-
hear from
that's a
Vice President
socialized
Biden. Sir, you have 45 seconds.
Thank you very much. I'm going to lead this country because I think it's important we restore the soul of this nation. This president has
What was that, like Skype or AOL noise? Like,
racist and white supremacist
called it.
with ordinary and decent people. He's the only president
lost
who is
me
that
entirely
engaged
when his
and
answer to what
embraced
he would do when he
dictators
became president
and
is
thumbed their
shoot
nose
Trump or
at
whatever
our
the hell he
allies.
said.
I'm secondly running for president because I think we have to
That was basically
restore
his only
the
answer,
backbone of
thank you, Trump.
America. The poor and hardworking middle
Oh,
class
by the way,
people.
guys,
You
Obama.
can't do that without replacing them with the dignity they once had. Lastly, we got to unite the United States of America as much as anybody says we can. If we do, there's not a single thing the American people can't do. This is the United States of America. We can do
And we will
anything
keep
if
those
we're
black
together,
kids out of school as long as
So
I'm.
God
Oh wait, a
bless you
second.
all, and may
It's,
God
sorry, it's the
protect our
2000s, not the 70s anymore. I mean, look, Camilla, I'm sorry. It's not my fault, okay?
On a range of issues, 20 candidates in all. We want to thank all of the candidates last night.
Seriously, it takes guts to run and stick your neck out like this to you guys and to the 10 last night.
No.
Thanks for having the guts to do
I would
this.
also like to thank the audience for
I thought Joe
completely
got in
ignoring
trouble.
our suggestion not to react. It made it a lot more fun.
Rachel, you're fun.
The Democratic National Committee and the Florida Democratic Party.
And of course, thank you to everyone at the Adrian R. Center for hosting us here and our terrific audiences. Chuck mentioned.
Over terrific.
For Savannah, Jose, Chuck, and Rachel, I'm Lester Holt. Good night, everyone, from Miami.
Okay, let's hit mute on this shit.
Here.
Let me
Bye, candidates.
let me turn up my.
Okay,
I'll miss some of them.
let's.
I'll miss one of them. All Right,
Good points were brought up. I got to listen to the economist sitting down the aisle from me be mortified, which means the point is good.
That's all in all, we're doing fine, right? Here we go.
That's how actually, you should be happy. The economists, who are all very white, very rich, and very conservative, are worried. So
Good.
look it up.
Must be something good. Something good's going on then.
Though all of them support Biden, so figure that one out.
Because
Biden's a Republican.
Centrist.
He's the Republican. The true. Okay, we have two. If Biden comes in, we'll have two Republican candidates. We'll have Biden, the Republican, and Trump, the Trumpian. Well, sorry, Trump, the fascist. I don't know why I'm fucking mincing words at this point. I'm gonna go pee. I'll be right back. You guys can absolutely keep talking though.
Okay. Yay. So, Alkali puppet impersonator. What is the outside? What's the goofy thing you're not goofy, but what's the long shot thing you're hoping for to come to fruition?
Oh, realistic long shot? I want people to start talking because it won't happen, and that's why everyone is confused why Yang didn't get a lot of talk time. This is the beginning of that conversation, and this is a giant, complicated conversation that is going to take as much power as we can muster to come to fruition. And I mean under any guise whatsoever. Do not forget, America has UBI in one location. It's very small, but Alaska does have a small amount of UBI. The last time I looked, it was about $2,300 a year. That small amount of money has made that a very viable piece of land, and people have moved there because of that and changed their lives because of it. However, there are a lot of pitfalls, and any of them can happen at any time. UBI has never gone to this large of a scale.
I gotta say something real fast.
Yes.
Do it.
All right. So, real quick, with Andrew. Oh, they're still talking on the thing.
Who's still talking? Oh, I've muted that. I've turned that off completely.
It's muted. Xander, go.
Yeah, Xander, go.
Basically, criticism of UBI with Yang's system is that it basically doesn't give the disability extra. It just basically it's either or. So it does limit their buying power. That is a legitimate criticism. So everyone else gets $1,000. They have to decide. So their buying power is limited. That is a legitimate criticism.
There's a lot of criticisms for it. Absolutely.
But in general, I like the idea of a UBI.
Yeah, I mean, if you got that system in place, it would be better to try and work on that.
Next to Pepper, what's your name again?
This is WolfJ. Everybody, this guy is WolfJ. I'm very sorry we didn't do effective introductions.
Do you want to just go without the puppets now?
Alkali, we can hear you now.
Damn it.
Who?
WolfJester. You said you were otherwise new to politics stuff. What's an insight you gained tonight?
Essentially, most of WolfJ's politics, what he hears, he mostly hears from me or my Twitter because I talk about it fucking constantly. So it's really difficult for him to hear. There's no news source he hears more politics from, more so probably than me talking because we hang out a lot.
You're a pretty big beacon of socialism right now. Thanks for jerking off that bottle, by the way.
I know, I'm feeling it. Sorry.
So I do agree with Pepper and a lot of stuff. If I would identify as any religion or philosophy, it's Buddhism. I basically only knew Bernie and Biden going into this, and after this debate, it's like everyone is shit on Biden, so apparently they want Bernie to be the representative. So I got from this as a casual person.
Well, everybody's sitting here, I think, we were all Bernie fans from 2016, so he's kind of our default at this point.
I wanted Bernie to win last season.
Yeah, it's a good way to say it, season, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted Bernie to win last season, but it became Hillary. I'm like, oh, great, she's not going to win. I would rather have Hillary than Trump, but I knew she wasn't going to beat Trump.
So we're all pretty thoroughly on the same page then. We all kind of default to Bernie because he was our previous dude, but I don't think any of us would any of us be upset if it was Warren instead. I think I almost see Warren and Bernie as like an equal victory because they have such similar policies.
I agree with you.
Warren honestly has less baggage to go with her. Bernie has some older race issues that do I genuinely believe he's better about? Yes. Does he still say things that are out of touch with modern race relations? Yeah, he does. From an elective,
he is old.
From an electability standpoint, I like Warren more than Bernie.
Yeah, but Liz jumped out there with her like I'm Native American thing she was doing for a bit, and that's
the
weird.
only gap she's had. Bernie has
it's the biggest one.
talked down to BLM protesters.
But Bernie also has stopped his own events to allow them on stage to let them talk. That happened more than once.
That was really cool that he did that.
He's like, talk, come on, let's go for it.
Yeah.
Actions mean more than words, and Bernie is somebody who's shown us through his actions what he's about. I appreciate that.
If we're talking about civil rights things, that dude's been getting arrested since he was in his 20s at civil rights events. He was literally handcuffing himself to black women to make sure that when the cops arrested them, they couldn't beat him up too much, because white dude there also.
I just one thing that should be considered is Bernie pushed everybody left, and that has to be considered, and that's what a lot of people are paying attention to.
Oh my God! Remember,
Bernie's bringing everyone left, and he started what a lot of them are running on, which is Medicare for all, which is kind of a Bernie thing. What he started, right? That's the biggest issue. So, yeah.
I mean, if in 2016 Bernie said that all what was it? He said what Biden said tonight, that all community college should be free. And some debt relief, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, this communist, this insane person." And now Warren busts out with her, "You know what? Actually, all student loans, like $50,000 of everyone's student loans, should just be knocked out. Just take them out." And people are like, "Yeah, it's a little." And now Bernie's like, "You know what? All the loans, just fuck them. They're all just gone." And people are like, "This is acceptable." Like, we've been pushed so far left just in the last 4 years. Not that far left. We've been pushed so far center.
So, like, one
gone
thing
from right center to actual center.
I have a day job centrist example exactly on that topic. The person otherwise like socially means well, but when it comes to money and things and work ethic, he's very much more conservative. So he's like, "Well, I put myself through school and paid off my loans, and they just want to wipe out all of this debt. What does that mean for my work?" And I didn't even answer that question. I answered it with this question. Well, clearly people think education shouldn't have this cost. How do you get there? And his answer was, "Oh, I guess canceling debt."
By 2030 or whatever, we're all going to default anyway.
You can never use the excuse, "Well, I had to work for it. Why shouldn't everyone?" That's not valid. That's never valid.
Yeah.
Yes, we all had to work on things. You know why we worked on those things? So that the world's a little bit better for the next generation. So maybe they don't have to deal with the pitfalls that we went through.
You can't say that.
Sound?
You can't say my kids worked in a coal mine, therefore your kids should work in a coal mine. Like, or you never fucking get anywhere.
Like, I don't plan on having kids, but I like my kids to live.
What just that?
My grandpa lost his arm in an industrial accident. You should all lose an arm in an industrial accident.
We died 7 times. The worst part is I know a ton of people who not only do I work with that I know in my personal life that, that's a legit thing. Like, no, I worked my ass off to pay for college. Well, yeah, in your generation, working your ass off could pay for college. That's not true.
I mean, we're not saying that work doesn't have any value. Hard work definitely is worth something. We're actually saying that your work should be worth more. The work that you do in college should be worth something. Because I don't know anybody, well, I know you can do this if you're rich enough, but when I was in my 4-year university, I didn't feel like that was a 4-year vacation. I feel like I was working my ass off the entire time. Yeah. I was creating a lot of value for my university, especially since I was a musician. We were out there putting on concerts that they were charging tickets for. So like,
that didn't contribute at all to the debt you assumed.
Exactly.
So basically, you were slave educational labor for were you at a public or private institution?
Oh, public, believe me.
Even worse, honestly. At least you expect it from a private.
I'm here now.
Oh.
Alex, I really hope that's true. That would make me very happy because, once again, I just want that to become a topic. This is what happened with universal health care. We have to start talking about it before it has a chance of happening. And it's a good thing for the economy. We hope. I shouldn't say it's a good thing. There's going to be a long road ahead of us for any kind of UBI.
I mean,
do we know what the next
Lady Liberty tiara? What? It's perfect.
I like it. Do we know what the next event is or no?
No,
I
don't.
Fuck. Hey, the name of this is Last Minute Politics, and damn it, it's gonna be last minute.
We will try to be as less last minute as is possible for future events. Okay, so I will put this out there. The most drunk I have ever been in my life is when I was at an event called Drinking Liberally for the Republican debate.
Yeah.
I had Ted Cruz, and I had to drink every time Ted Cruz said radical Islamic terrorism. I don't remember portions of that night. Do we want to do that when it eventually comes up?
Look, we can't figure out the words they say a lot. Like, look to the right, to this side. We tried to find, like, they didn't say Mueller a single goddamn time. Like, they said socialist. They didn't even say socialism. They said socialist a couple times. Federal they never said federal judges even. Like, what the fuck? They definitely didn't say I'm getting sick and tired of this orgasm. The basic income came up a couple times just because we knew Andrew Yang would talk about it. That's about it.
Yeah.
It's real hard to
I'm
predict what the fuck they're going to say. We need to get more general.
To sabotage Biden.
If we drank every time there was a platitude that had no substance behind it, but just was pointing out problems without pointing out solutions, if that was our drinking game, holy fuck.
All right, how do we want to end this thing?
End?
Like, subscribe, and comment.
Everybody like, subscribe.
I got
hit that bell.
Tomorrow. I'm not professional furry yet.
The top 3 after that. Has any of you guys' opinions changed?
Oh, who do you think the winner, quote unquote, was? I'd say it was Harris. I think Harris had a fantastic night. She got so much screen time, and she was the only person who really went after Biden at all, which is cool.
See, I'm going to go with the opposite. I think there was a loser tonight, and that was Biden. That answer that he gave was one of the dumbest things I have ever heard during the if I get elected, the first thing I'm going to do is get Trump out of office.
That's what I said.
That is and then
what the fuck does that mean?
I was in my car when that happened. Did he actually call himself out of time? Did that actually happen?
Yes, twice. 2 times.
Yeah.
He stopped talking.
Rule of law, and my time is up.
Mid-sentence, he would be like, and that's why but I'm out of time. And he just went for half a second, just flat mouth, just deer in headlight eyes. I'm out of time, though. And they said, yes. And then they moved on. I'm like, what the fuck? I'd be like, no, Mr. Biden, please continue.
Yeah, exactly.
What was your point, dude?
Go ahead, Draggor. Sorry.
Oh, I was going to give a quick shout out to Ali Kuja, who has been posting our YouTube and Twitter links for all of us, for Drag It Show, myself, Pepper, our individual stuff. So thank you very much for helping with that. And everyone who has joined and put up with our stupid bullshit watching this. Because it kind of hurts, but it hurts together.
Yeah, it's at least more fun with us. With us all being here. By myself, I wouldn't be able to take this shit, man. I mean...
No.
Ugh.
All right, was this better than the town hall?
Oh,
yeah,
definitely.
Do you guys want to do a final word or anything?
Is this like the debate?
I would like to hear final words from everyone. Final word. Single word, nothing to do with what we just watched. Draggor, what's your word?
Whiskey.
Excellent. Pepper?
Bottle.
Excellent. Xander?
Rutabaga.
Rutabaga. Excellent. Person whose name I knew a minute ago, and now I forget. Fuck. Sorry, buddy.
Pie.
WolfJester.
Thank you. Say it again.
Pie.
WolfJester.
Oh, I like it. No, pie is good. I'm going to go get pie. And I'm going to go with No, you went with rutabaga. So chrysanthemum. Chrysanthemum. Final words. I think that was very appropriate.
Thank you all. We'll see.
It was about as meaningful as what we just watched.
A lot of it.
Something real quick.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
All right. I was just gonna say I heard something interesting, and I kind of agree with it. The failures of capitalism push people toward socialist solutions and fascist solutions. I'm just saying you're witnessing that. We're witnessing this shit right now. That's what happens.
People on the right.
The system doesn't work. That's what they look toward.
The Trump people aren't wrong when they say something is fundamentally wrong with the way things are run right now. They just want to blame immigrants and like brown people and women and gays as opposed to, you know, the fucking lizard people who run everything, who have all the money and refuse to share it with anyone unless you fucking put a gun to their head. And that's what it's gonna kind of take. You need to force it out of their hands. It's gonna be tax, and then you have to go enforce that shit. Once you set the tax in place, you're gonna have to break down some doors and take the giant Scrooge McDuck money bags away from them. Like, that's the only way anything changes.
Mr. Lizard Person, what is your goal on your Republican platform? Keep all the resources away from the lessers, so when I die with it all, I win.
Yeah.
Do you want to be buried with your democracy? Is that what Lizard Man just asked for?
Oh, no. Bury me with my democracy.
Can I touch on two things really fast?
Definitely.
All right.
We're going to
I just
spooky
want to
mode.
say this because it's... Ooh, very spooky. I like. Is that an Illuminati shirt? Thank you for the Illuminati. I just want to remind everyone really quick that there's a lot being thrown around about the other side, and I just want to remind you guys of one specific thing. If you were brought up in a house that only watched Fox News, only talked about what they heard on Fox News, and that is all that was taught at their schools, in their districts, that their friends, don't ever forget that there are people out there who don't know this side. Please do not jump down people's throats when they have a wild opinion. Because, yes, there are people out there who just want to watch the world burn, and that's fine. And one of them got elected, whatever. But there are people out there who do not know better because of how they were brought up. That is not their fault. And yelling at them will never help. Speaking with them really does. Because I've been working with some crazy conservative people most of my life, and I've been working with them most of my life. I have a very small industry, and I've watched their opinions change. My best friend has grown up as a ultra-conservative, and right now I would put him middle-of-the-road liberal, and it's really nice to watch that growth.
No,
It's gone from conservative to moderate to liberal.
It's close.
He directed me to late-stage capitalism.
Late-stage capitalism, yes.
Which is just about all the failures of capitalism. This is your friend who's like the most conservative guy. One of them was.
On the flip side, without putting down the other side, to anyone who does not want to engage, they don't have to.
No.
This next election is not about converting anyone.
No.
It is about producing turnout. The
Look,
people who are
motherfuckers, we won by 3 million votes last time.
That was the second topic. Thank you.
Like,
Perfect.
You don't. If you have the fortitude to reach across the aisle, do it. You might find some wonderful surprises, but if you don't have to. The real genuine gem of what we are trying to do is to get people to come into the fold and be part of the process. Because statistically, the people who would come into the fold want these progressive changes. They identify that the history of the world as it has been got us to here, and it doesn't need to keep being that way.
Only 24% of the electorate voted for the president.
Yep.
24%.
Half of the country of eligible voters turned out to vote.
And 25% of them voted for Clinton. But, but you know, weird that, isn't it funny?
Get people interested just enough. My tactic is I know a lot of people that don't understand, or they're like, oh, it doesn't affect me, or what can I do? It's not going to matter. And that is systemic. And it's not without blame, because people do feel uncared about. But if you get them en masse to care about human lives and empathy, you will see drastic changes. We can have gay space socialism, goddammit.
It's not enough to win anymore. If you're a Democrat, if you're on the left in any capacity, the Democrats I don't necessarily feel are on the left, but if you're either that or a leftist, you can't just win anymore. Like, you have to fucking destroy to even get even, like, to even have half the seats. You have to landslide these fuckers, because everything's been gerrymandered to absolute shit. The Electoral College system has made sure that, based on an old system of like slave states and not slave states, they're making sure that rural places where no one fucking lives, their vote counts more than yours. If you live in California, if you live in New York, holy shit, you have to come out 3 times as hard as somebody who lives in like Iowa or Montana or even frickin' South Carolina. Like, your vote genuinely does not count as much, so you have to get 5 more friends to also vote along with you. Like,
have you ever heard the actual number, if you game the system, of votes you need to get? What percentage of America do you need to get to win an election? Do you know that number?
Apparently it's about 23.
Yeah, it's between 21 and 23%. Is that it?
9.
No, it's higher than that. I know what you're talking about. It's not that
okay.
one. Yeah, you are absolutely right. Because of that system, yes, you technically only need to get 21% or something like that.
If you're rural friendly, if you are metropolis friendly, you need like 26%.
Oh, no, I'm talking you play it perfect.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
Play the system.
Here's one for you. One of the things that was proposed was Election Day as a federal holiday. One of the things that I've heard over the years is you can't participate in a tax rebate if you didn't vote and were eligible. Thoughts?
Is that a thing, or is that a proposed thing?
It's a proposed thing. It's a proposed thing. I'm not big. I've never liked the stick. I always prefer the carrot, but I see its merit.
If you put that along with automatic voter registration as soon as you get your driver's license, or should I say as soon as you turn 18, or at the very least tie that shit to your draft registration. Holy fuck. If you put that along with making... Yeah, if you made it a national holiday where everyone had the possibility to vote, their job couldn't fuck them over because, I want to vote on election day, God forbid, and you were registered for it, and there wasn't some weird, you had to register 18 months before the election, or your shit didn't, you didn't have 7 birth certificates and your social security card in triplicate, then yes, maybe. We could maybe do that. I mean, Australia has compulsory voting where you get fined if you don't vote, but they also make it a national holiday, and everybody's just like, everyone signed up to vote over there. So their turnout's like 80% plus. But what you get is like a big percentage voting for like my ass, like is a huge write-in candidate, or like Mickey Mouse is a huge write-in candidate because people get so annoyed at the system. But I'd rather have that, I guess, than 23% of the adult country electing an actual fascist because money.
Everyone, I don't know about WolfJester, but the rest of us four, the current party in power is actively moving to undermine our rights and criminalize our lives just for being queer, and we're not even the biggest targets in their crosshairs.
Yeah.
Sandra, you wanted something?
I did want to say something real quick. I think that election reform and getting the money out of politics, getting the lobbyists out and getting all these special interests is a bipartisan thing that like people can get behind if they understand the logic behind it. I really
Drain the swamp,
like,
but actually
on both sides, we don't want these huge companies making these decisions for us and influencing these votes. I think that's something we can actually agree upon. Maybe this is just me, but I don't know.
To anyone who does question, like, you're lefties, you're part of the Democrats, whatever, like, Debbie Wasserman Schultz should fuck off forever. Nancy Pelosi should fuck off forever. Hillary Clinton is one of the worst things to happen to the Democratic Party because of the style of campaign ran and the middle finger given to actual, the Democratic base's views. These are things that we have done to ourselves. Not that we deserve the shithead in power, but we actively did things that hurt the party that seems to align most with our views. It is both sides that we want that aspect fixed.
My frustration is that the party only kind of sort of aligns with our views in the first place. They seem to only align with us in so much as we get out and vote for them. I mean, the black community's been saying this forever, that essentially the Democrats, they court them around election time, and then as soon as they get in office, fuck all actually happens. I wish we would have fewer liberals, more leftists.
And
the people,
I totally agree. Go ahead, Draggor, sorry.
I was going to say, like, I don't like the term right and left because they don't actually put any meaning to what it stands for. But progressive actually has a meaning on the term itself. We want to progress from where we were. Just because something was the way it was doesn't diminish its validity for having gotten us there, but that doesn't default mean it's the way forward to a better future.
Well, remember, they're all rich. They're all rich already. Most of the establishment Democrats we talk about are fucking loaded. So any of these decisions that would hurt them, that would increase their taxes, they're going to vote against. Also, their donors are all also very rich, so they get put in office to help rich people out, corporate donors, corporate backers. And like people were saying in the chat, only one candidate on stage refuses to take corporate money, and that's still Sanders.
Yeah. Also, don't forget one thing, going back to what you just said, electability. You can't. I would love somebody more in line with your views, with all of our views. You can't. If you did that, disagree. You can't be, you cannot be elected under the current system. Under this system, what's going on right now, if you did everything that we want to do, that's too much change because there's going to be something in there. You actually have to play a little defensively. You're going to have something in there that's going to set off people that are on our side, but not totally. You do need to be more broad. Now, I hope that somebody goes in there and still does that. They believe it in truth. But
so I genuinely believe you're operating under the following fallacy. in that what we would deem our opposition, the conservatives and the Republicans, have demonized our progressive views so much in that the Overton window has shifted so much to the right. We are actually self-policing ourselves out of better ideas and things that actually genuinely resonate with most of the population. I think Xander's about to like jump on this bandwagon.
I sure am, because I was just Pepper's song. The idea of a union is a radical idea right now. Just to show where we are.
You're
right?
crazy if you want a union at the moment.
Crazy.
But it does work. And don't get me wrong, Draggor, you are right. But it doesn't change the fact that that view is there. And
I'm
that view
saying,
needs to be
I am
stopped
genuinely
first.
saying, because no one has, until Bernie for the first time in 2016, doubled down on actual progressive things, we have not seen a genuine progressive challenge. I think it's disingenuous to say you actually have to play defensive, because we have not seen a genuine progressive offense. And that resonates more with people.
I can't argue with you on that, because you're right. We haven't really seen that.
No.
But I think that's a really dangerous path. And how do you go down that path when you are trying to become the one sole person to be president? You got to have balls of steel.
We've seen where centrism gets us multiple times over the past 30 years.
We
It
watched
does
Hillary
not work.
Clinton lose the easiest election in the history of American politics because she
And
went
that was
so
because
centrist.
playing defensive.
She thought she could have no
You
ideas.
can bring it down to just playing defensive, but I see what you're saying.
Well, what you were saying, whoever gets the nomination has to run on how I'm going to change things, not why you shouldn't vote for Trump.
Right.
Yes.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Like, Jesus Christ.
I wish people wouldn't be so scared of actually moving left. It seems at the moment the Democrats compromise with the right kind of all the time. That's the biggest reason that people don't like Joe Biden. How come they can't compromise with the left? Well, the real reason is that it would be taking power away from money, and they are all money, so they don't want to take power away from money. Hillary Clinton represents money. Joe Biden represents money. Like for I was about to say for millions of years, for decades, they've been funded only by super rich people. So why would they go and fuck over rich people? Because then suddenly, oh no, we have no money. How can we keep running to stay in office forever?
They don't have no money. They would still be the elite, just not.
Oh, I just mean political money. I mean backing dollars, donation dollars.
Draggor, they would have 2 jumbo air jets. What's wrong with you?
With golden rims. Draggor, they're not going to be happy until Hunger Games is a thing. Just accept this.
No, fuck off.
I want to see Democrats compromise with people who are actually on the left. I want to see them compromising with socialists and not treating socialists like they're all fucking evil demons who we can't don't say their name. If you say Beetlejuice socialist three times in a mirror.
So, for example, the big thing that I want to see compromise on the left is the acknowledgement that picking the battle, I genuinely believe participating in the style of gun reform battles is something that shouldn't happen yet, because that is one of the biggest issues that knocks people to vote against self-interest. So I do genuinely believe in gun reform, but as far as overall impact to our nation and how to move forward politically, it is something that is a tool that is used to keep the progressives down.
Yeah, it's not my biggest
time.
focus at the moment either. And also, I'm kind of genuinely scared that if we do quote unquote take away everyone's guns, soon the only people that'll have guns are like white supremacists and neo-Nazis, because they aren't giving up their fucking guns for anything. So eventually, even if we do legally like pass some stuff where we'd like you to do the buyback program, who's going to keep their guns? It'll be a bunch of neo-Nazis who will suddenly have guns at the rallies and we won't. So gun control isn't my first priority.
Right. There's a lot to unpack in that argument, especially because, like, I'm
eventually,
in
yes,
area,
get rid of all the fucking guns. But for the moment, we need an even playing field, and the cops aren't going to do shit for most leftist people. For like, you think the cops are going to go bust up a Nazi rally to save a bunch of trans dudes? No, it's not going to fucking happen. So they might actually need guns.
Protecting the fucking Nazis
at
another rally.
The Nazis can march with their ARs at fucking City Hall, and it's fine. They get a police escort. But I wouldn't, and I'm pretty privileged as far as my like demographic goes.
Now, did we all do the same thing that they did? If we were president, what's our one topic that we're going for?
We did.
They had to answer it.
Whoever said climate change, I'm like, technically, yeah, it's a way too big of a thing to say, but it's the only thing you can say. Like,
I'm gonna fix Earth.
You have to. Like, we have like 20 years to fix it. And I don't care. I'm not having any kids. I'm out. I'm going to die on our burning planet. Arizona will be 700 degrees daily by the time
I'm in Chicago near one of the biggest freshwater sources, so I'm not going to go with climate change.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Oh my God,
for a
Draggor.
couple more decades.
Now you're Republican.
A smidge.
Okay, so Pepper, yours is save the Earth. Is that your first day? Is that your one thing?
It's the only thing. Like, climate change is the only thing at the moment. All this petty nonsense, all these trade deal bullshit, none of it's going to matter when we're underwater and suddenly the 1% who are the only people who can afford to live have to do actual work. That'll be a fun day.
Draggor. Seen this movie.
They'll move to the
Draggor,
moon.
what's your one?
Genuinely, because gun to head climate change will happen, or at least it'll start to happen once it's too late. Actually actionable campaign finance reform, public campaigns.
Reform. Yep.
It's the biggest mechanism, assuming we don't die to climate change, that's the biggest mechanism to fix things going forward.
Totally agree. That's mine too. Xander?
50,000 to 65,000 people die every year because they don't have health care. I think that's our most valuable issue right now.
It's a big one.
Medicare for all. So that's me.
Absolutely. No, I get that.
Hopefully, whoever wins can do all this shit at kind of the same time because they have to.
They get in and they just get a report. All right, you have 10 minutes to fix the country. That's all the time we have left.
It's like, yo, we just burned 4 years with this horse shit, so good luck.
So genuinely, like, the Medicare for all thing, I think genuinely will eventually happen because mathematics says a global pool is the most efficient pool. For anyone who doesn't understand, the point of insurance is as follows. Everyone pays in, so when the smaller population, like 10% or 20% of the population, has costs that exceed what pays in, the 80 to 90% that pays in covers it and then some. The way that works is the bigger pool you have, those peaks and valleys are basically smoothed over. So mathematically, the only logical choice is a single pool that is not profit driven. This has no emotion tied to it. This has none of your doctor or, I believe in what tied to it. Mathematically, for how insurance works, that is the most efficient way.
You're forgetting about the second jet. They need the second jet. How will they be in two places at once? You need a decoy jet, Draggor. You're a very important doctor.
Yo, I'm gonna do a cover band where we do "Should I Stay or Should I Go Now," and our name is the Second Jet.
Oh, is that when you and Fox play the RNC?
Yes. All right.
That's it. This is the show that gets us all recognized. We all get onto MSNBC as political analysts. It's a brilliant idea.
Political puppets.
Political puppets, yes. And we all get a second jet. Cheers.
Okay, I'm going to end this stream because we're half an hour over now. I love you guys so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. Alkali, I'm very glad you could get here, even though it's under bad circumstances. So, the people who have been joining me for the last, 2.5 hours have been from left to right. Oh, I can align my finger here. We have Draggor, who's right here. Draggor,
Yay.
We're going to repost your stuff in the chat. We have Alkali, who's right here. Alkali and Xander, who's right next to him. Draggor, Alkali, and Xander are all involved in a thing called the Dragget Show, a combination of dragon and ferret. Dragget.
And me.
They're on, every bit of social media you could possibly imagine. YouTube, Twitter, they're everywhere. They do streams all the time. They're super funny. And then I am Pepper Coyote, but you're already on my channel, so you can find my stuff. So, Alkali's already reposted.
Super funny and amazing.
Oh, I was talking about both of you.
Show Saturday.
I was talking about you.
Oh, me? Oh,
I said it before. check out, and Allie, if you could, or someone could drop it in the chat, check out, for anyone who's going to be there, anthrocon2019.sked.org. All of us are going to do awesome stuff. There's this multi-hour block of concerts. Anthrocon, for the first time, is getting Citrine, who I think is opening right before you and Pepper.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah.
I love Citrine.
We're going to have Pepper as a special guest in one of our chairs on Charity Who's Line, so if you want to see Pepper improv and be a dumbass with the rest of us, you'll have that. There's going to be Drag Show stuff. Anthrocon Tonight, the variety show, is one of the best showcases of talent in the fandom that it has to offer. Please try and come see it. You get people who audition for this and bust their butts to make these shows happen. It's where you will find the next Pepper, the next Alkali, the next Xander. So if you're going to Anthrocon, please come and check out that show.
The next Draggor. Don't try that shit.
Oh, fuck off. No.
That's my shit.
No
Don't
one
take
wants
my
to
shit.
be this bald.
Come on, you look like a dick. If you looked any more like a dick, I'd be sucking on your forehead.
You have tried that.
Oh, yeah, it was fun.
Okay, good night, everybody.
Good night.